This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth.
That's a fit. That's a match.
No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
All right, everybody, what's up? It feels good to be here on a holiday Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, and a festive day here today. Got some free sushi. That was nice. Karma
Very
Sushi.
nice.
Shout out to Karma Sushi, and we appreciated that here today. So I've definitely got a full stomach, and now we're going to talk some football, which is always fun, and pretty basic, normal show here today. I know there's going to be a lot of draft questions as always, and we're going to get to them in the second hour. We're going to talk a little Patriots Bills here in the first hour, as well as we always do. And Alex is also here. Hi.
I am here.
Yep. In case you didn't know, Alex also here. Also on 98.5 The Sports Hub quite a bit this week.
Yep. Holiday season.
Yeah, it's your time to shine. It's the holiday fill-in schedule. It's this is the Alex Barth show.
Had a great show this morning with Andrew Callahan and Kendra Middleton. Honestly, it was a ton of fun. I worked with Kendra 2 or 3 times. I obviously know Andrew, but hadn't been on the radio with him before today. Done podcast, but it was a good show.
You are the star of 98.5 this time of year.
I wouldn't go.
No,
that
you
far.
are. You are on TV the other day too.
I was.
You were on TV.
Felgram House will be on TV tomorrow with Phil Perry, 10 to 2.
Love that. So before we get rolling here. Now that I've ribbed Alex enough for being the star of 98.5 for the next week, hey Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go places, and easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of your New England Patriots. All right, let's talk a little bit of Bills Patriots here, and my reaction after this game was met with some hostility, I would say, some pushback. I mean, pushback's a better word. Some pushback because I gave the Patriots some flowers in this game for competing against a much, much better Buffalo Bills team. And there are certainly nitpicks of their coaching performance on Sunday. Almost said Saturday, all thrown off. There's certainly nitpicks of their performance on Sunday, which I'm sure we'll get to. We were actually texting about this when I was traveling back, and I was texting with you, and we were kind of in disagreement on this then. I don't know if your opinions have changed too much, but we'll get to that. My biggest takeaway from this game against the Bills is I wanted to see proof of concept from Gerard Mayo and his coaching staff that they could go into it and coach a game with a concise, clear plan that they could execute. It's one thing to have all these grandiose ideas of, this is how we're going to contend or beat Buffalo. But the reality is that their team and their personnel cannot necessarily execute the most complicated or the most sophisticated of game plans. So do you have a game plan that not only makes sense for how your strengths versus the Bills' weaknesses and what you could do to beat the Bills that you can also execute? And that's the name of the game, right? Like, that's coaching. And going into this game offensively, I think we all were refreshed by the fact that they went out there and took Drake May for a spin a little bit, let him run around a little bit, let him throw down the field early on in this game against man coverage, which I thought was crucial to their fast start, was actually taking some shots against press man and allowing him to go make plays when he sees man-to-man coverage instead of what they did against Arizona. And the second thing, defensively, I was even more impressed, and this goes to another big picture thing that I wanted to point out. This was truly the first time that Gerard Mayo and DeMarcus Covington, in their respective roles currently, play Josh Allen. And I know that we have a little bit of different opinion on Josh Allen.
Yes, we do.
But the point is that Josh Allen is the king of the division right now. And he's not going anywhere anytime soon. The Bills aren't going anywhere. Josh Allen's not going anywhere. So in order for this regime to get where they want to go, even if it's 2 to 3 years from now, they need to start laying the foundation of how we are going to play defense against Josh Allen and go out there and find a way to solve this problem that really goes back to 2020, where they've more or less, other than a win-aided 2021 game, have not had a lot of answers for Josh Allen. So in this game, I felt like defensively they had two clear, concise goals: keep him in the pocket, and we're going to play man-to-man coverage. And to your point, your side of the street a little bit, a big part of that man-to-man coverage to me was that they no longer have Stephon Diggs. So there's not this trump card that Buffalo can throw at you where they have this receiver that is uncoverable in man-to-man, one-on-one. And so the Patriots, I felt like, said, well, if we take Allen's skill players out of the game by playing tight man-to-man coverage and sort of bait him into playing hero ball from the pocket, then we have a much better chance than if we back off and we play soft zone and we let him pick us apart underneath. And that's what they went out there and did. And I thought the defense really executed the game plan flawlessly in the passing game. There was obviously issues in the run game, but 17 points allowed and 156 passing yards for Josh Allen. I'll take that any day of the week. Like, that's a game that you will absolutely take against that quarterback.
Yeah, I think this is. Remember is the dress blue and black or white and gold? Remember that thing from the internet? Yes. I think this game is kind of that with the coaching side. And in reality, it's both. But everybody's going to fall on one side of the street. I agree with everything you said from the game plan side. And we didn't disagree on it. We were just focused on different things. I agree with you 100% on the game plan side. Yeah, I thought they came in with a good plan, offensively and defensively. Offensively, as the game went on, they didn't adapt as well as they could have. Defensively, I think they did. It helped that the Bills just refused to run the ball, which is hilarious. Let's not give Sean McDermott too much credit here. But I thought they came in with a good plan. I thought the team looked prepared. The team came in with energy. The team came in ready to go, which coming off that Cardinals game was night and day. So the preparation, the week leading up to it, I think the coaching staff deserves a ton of credit for the plan they put together. The flip side is the game management stuff still needs work. Some of the punt, non-punt decisions, I thought they missed a good shot at challenging a play. Some of the clock management, that is still where there is room to grow. And look, it's good to see the game plan stuff, and I'm not discounting any of that. I just think that it's weird because I thought the most encouraging thing from this game was the coaching in terms of the game plan. The least encouraging thing was the coaching in terms of the in-game management. So kind of both sides of the street for them. The game management stuff you can learn, you can get better at, but there is room to grow there.
I think that's a fair take.
You just don't care about the game management stuff, so you'll throw that out the window.
I don't, because I don't see, for this team right now, I'm not sure what it matters. Like, the most important thing for this team now...
But it's not about right now. Again, it's about that projection. At a certain point, they're going to have to get better at that.
Yeah, but you can develop that skill. I just...
Right, but it's still... Most important have you seen them develop it over the course of this year?
No, but the most important thing to me right now is winning during the week. Like, can you win Monday through Saturday?
I think the most important thing is winning on Sunday, and you do that by winning during the week. But you can't
that's
just say,
how you do it.
We had a good week of practice and we lost. Oh well, like no, there is ways they can be better during the game too.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think as a 3-win rebuilding operation, the most important thing is proving that you can put together a game plan, practice it during the week, take it from the classroom to the practice field to the game field, and go out there and play a competitive product of football. Like, if you want to sit here and nitpick that they punted, the fourth down punt in the fourth quarter that everybody's going crazy about, then sure. Like, I understand that that's, it was not an aggressive decision, right? That was, for a lot of people, I would say that decision to punt there was to keep the game close so that on the scoreboard they weren't getting blown out by 17 points. And maybe that's true, but I just, again, what I come back to with this coaching staff is I am far more concerned with Monday through Saturday with this team right now. Can you go out there and know what you need to do? It's one of those things with Bill where he would, always get up in front of the team and he would have like 4 things. If for us to win this game, we absolutely need to check these 4 boxes, right? And I'm not talking about like the catch-alls, like don't turn the ball over, and like those are all every week. You don't want to turn the ball over, and you don't want to beat yourself. But I'm talking more about, really minutia, X's and O's. Like, we are going to keep Josh Allen contained in the pocket, and this is exactly how we're going to do it. whether it's a 4-man rush, mush rush, or it's rush, one guy gets to rush because we're going to funnel him out of the pocket this way, and then we're going to have a spy that's going to close the pocket, which is what they did a lot in this game with Josh Allen, was using guys like Brandon Schooler as a spy on the quarterback, and then allowing like one rusher to tee off, right? And the other 3 guys, their job or their responsibility was to try to push him in a certain direction, and then Schooler came wrapped around in that direction and sort of closed the pocket. Like the coordination of that rush plan. Don't look at, like, to me with this pass rush, I know a lot of people are making a big deal sort of out of Keon White's like slide here that he hasn't been as productive. Like, to me, this was not about that. Like, you're not grading this game looking at quarterback pressures and sack numbers. Like, to me, they went into this game defensively and they said, we probably aren't going to sack Josh Allen. Like, he's hard enough to sack as it is because of his mobility and his size. They have a good offensive line. They get the ball out quickly, and there's the nature of this offense. We're not going to necessarily get after Josh Allen in this game, so we're just going to try to contain him and keep him in the pocket and make him meet us from the pocket. And then we're going to take the receivers out. And they went out there and they did that. Offensively, it was great to see some of the throws down the field. It was great to see a couple design quarterback runs for Drake May. So, yeah, like, do you want to, the punt? Like, you didn't like the punt. Okay, like, what else? Like, I guess, what else didn't you like about the game management stuff specifically?
The punt, I didn't love. I would have challenged. So, the third down, not on the fake punt drive, the drive before, second quarter, incomplete. Kendrick Bourne catches a comeback. Yeah. He's like in midair when he catches it. The defender drives him back. They marked him a full yard short. And I know those plays are tough to overturn, but it's the first half. I would have challenged that. I think there's a chance he got it. Even if he didn't get it, you're inches away. Maybe they're more inclined to go for it. We know they had that fake punt. I didn't love just as a whole, and it burned them. One time burned them. So after the fake punt, they have to call timeout instead of taking a delay because they didn't get the special teams off and the offense on time. And it's the second week in a row something like that's happened. They had the 29-yard run from Antonio Gibson last week and have to call a timeout immediately after because they can't get the play in. And it's like, when you have these big plays, you want to keep the defense on their heels. You want to keep them backed up, especially after a fake punt. Defense comes off the field. They think they're done. They're kind of resetting. Now they got to all of a sudden run back on. When you call a timeout, you sort of lose some of that momentum. And there were other instances in the game. That was the most glaring. But there were other instances in the game where they're either calling timeouts or they're getting to the line with 6-7 seconds on the play clock. Like, you can't be doing that. It was almost Mike McDaniel-esque. So you
just had to take a shot at Mike
that game in Buffalo, that playoff game was so bad. How does he not figure out the entire game? Just call the play earlier. And it's anyway. You got to be able to get the play calls on time. Like, this is basic operational stuff that. Do they win the game? I don't know, but it will help them be competitive, and it cuts down on some of that margin for error. I don't know. Do they win the game? Maybe, maybe not. Certainly the one after the fake punt, you get the defense really back on their heels. That helps. Instead, they punt again 3 plays later, so the fake you kind of burned for nothing.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I guess to me, the stuff that you're talking about is I will be more concerned about that kind of stuff like a year or two from now when they are actually supposed to be competing.
Okay, but why can't they work on the during the week stuff and the in-game stuff? Why can't we be talking about both improving simultaneously? It's not like, all right, we're good where we are during the week. Now let's figure out this game day stuff. That's not how it should be. They should be working on improving the entire operation at once.
Because I don't think that stuff that you're talking about, if we had to like split up winning into like a pie of like percentages, I think that your stuff is probably about 20 to 25%, and my stuff is 75.
It's more than that, especially once you go up against maybe in a game like that where they're so outmatched talent-wise. Once the roster is more even, it's going to matter a lot more than that. We saw that here for years. There were good teams that the Patriots would play.
The Patriots were beating teams before the team even got off the bus. Like that's
Well,
how the
some of it
Patriots
was
work.
because they were more tightened up, and other teams would get in a panic about playing the Patriots, and they would stumble over the details, the in-game details. No, I'm sorry, that stuff. I'm not gonna let you say that stuff doesn't decide football games. It absolutely does.
It decides a lot of one-score games. I agree with you, but I don't necessarily.
Well, most games in the NFL are one-score games.
I just don't think it matters as much as you do. I don't. I think it matters. I think it's a part of the game.
Let's ask Kyle Shanahan and all the Super Bowl rings how much it matters.
Oh, come on, man. He's been like 2 bounces from the Super Bowl. Like, you
so
keep
maybe
bringing
if
up
he managed the clock, so that's the point. If he was a little better on the margins
and
in
maybe
games,
if Jimmy
he might have one.
Garoppolo hits Emmanuel Sanders
Whose decision
on the
was
post.
it to have Jimmy Garoppolo throw?
Oh, so it's his fault that he missed a wide open receiver for
Whose
a walk.
decision was it to have Jimmy Garoppolo throw? You know what Jimmy Garoppolo is.
We're
We've
just
had this conversation many times.
digressing on this.
It matters. It absolutely decides games, and I'd rather them not wait to get better at it.
I'm not asking them to wait to get better at it. I just think that it's more important, especially coming off a game like they played in Arizona, where I just thought their entire approach was off.
No, the approach was much better.
Even
and
Gerard Mayo said on Tuesday that their effort in Arizona wasn't good enough.
No, and I'm giving them credit. They were much better in that regard. But this stuff is part of the game, too. This stuff is part of coaching, too. I think it's as much – the game day stuff, to me, is as much a part. You can come in with a great plan. If you can't get play calls in and you're committing bad penalties and you're burning timeouts you don't need to burn and letting the clock run when it doesn't need to run, you're still going to – even with a good plan, you're still going to have a hard time winning games in this league because so many of these games are so close.
All right. Well, we're not going to agree to this on this one, so I'm going to move it along. But I do – the one big thing that I – definitely look at now as we come off of this Bills game. It's cool to do it once, and we're saying do it once. They didn't even win the freaking game. It's cool to come, and watch this film and feel pretty good about some of the things that they did, in terms of the pass defense and the start on offense. But the two, kind of things that come from this now, one, you got to stack it, right? Like you got to do it again against the Chargers on Saturday. If this is just a one-off performance by this group down the stretch here,
right,
and we don't see that team on Saturday against the Chargers, I would throw it all out. I would say all the flowers I gave you last week, you just set them on fire.
As you should.
Right. Like I will not care about this Bills game if they go out and play like they did in Arizona on Saturday against the Chargers. Now, if they play the same way they did against Buffalo, and maybe, to your point, some of those in-game things go their way, or they clean those things up, or some of the bounces just are better this week and they actually win this game against the Chargers, then I would feel like, okay, we're starting to stack here a little bit. Now, with that being said, Week 18 against the Bills, I'm throwing out. I don't think that game's going to matter for Buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mitch Trubisky in that game against Buffalo.
I'm not throwing that out because of what you just said. Like, if they're not competitive against the Bills team that's half-assing it, that's a really bad sign.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess, I don't know. This goes into like a, personnel level versus player level. Like the players aren't going to go out there and tank for the team, right? They're not going to do that. But I do think that there is an element in Week 18 of thinking about that. I do.
I think again, the game management stuff, the operational stuff, like you need to prove you can be a tight operation. And it doesn't matter who the opponent is.
So you don't care that if they win a meaningless game against the Bills in Week 18, they could go from like the 2nd overall pick to like the 8th overall pick?
I think winning's more important at this point.
You think winning one game against Mitch Trubisky is more important?
Yep. I think you don't want losing to become habitual for the culture of it. They're also not going to fall to 8. I think if they lose one of the next two, the Chargers are a good team. I don't think they can fall past like 6.
Well, there's a bunch. I don't know what all the tiebreakers are because we don't know like the
they're
strength of schedule.
They're going to have the tiebreakers because their strength of schedule is so below everybody else's.
Well, there's a bunch of 4-win teams and 3-win teams in the league right now.
A bunch of them play each other though.
Okay, I mean, even if it's 2-6 or 2-7, I think that
I also look
in this draft especially. I think that's bad.
I'm a proponent of them trading down, so you don't get the haul, but you still end up with the same player. I don't know. I'd like to see them. I don't think they're going to tank.
No, they're not going to purposely tank.
Right, and I just think that operational stuff, and I think, like, ending the season on a high note is important. I know, like, what did it do for the Jets last year, but that's the Jets.
Yeah.
I think ending the season on a high note is important. Yeah, winning one game was not going to help the Jets. The Jets are so far beyond one game.
Okay, so that's one. They got to stack it together against the Chargers. The second thing is we're still seeing a lot of the same mistakes, and I know you kind of already broke down the coaching angle of that. This isn't necessarily not coaching, it's just in terms of the execution. The run defense is still a major problem with this team. At this point, they're probably not going to fix the run defense until next year, and hopefully you get a Christian Barmore, Jawan Bentley, maybe you draft a few guys, you sign a few guys on defense that are stouter against the run. Their run defense is, in my mind, other than the offensive line, the worst part of the team.
Agree with that.
And in terms of like the offensive line, they're so talent depleted on the offensive line that I almost feel more disappointed in the run defense than I do in the line play, because you're not expecting much out of your starting tackles being Trey Jacobs and Vidarian Lowe, right? Like you're just not expecting that group to be great. Defensively, I still think they have enough good players on defense to not be a horrible run defense. And at times they are a horrible run defense. And it's the big plays. It's the 46-yard touchdown by James Cook, but it's also these little runs where, in this game they missed 8 tackles against the run. 4 of them I counted could have been TFLs.
Yeah.
And they're missing these tackles, and not only could they have been TFLs, but then they don't rally to the football. So like the ball carrier ends up squeaking out for 4 or 5 yards. It's not even just that they miss the play behind the line of scrimmage. They then don't make the play at the line of scrimmage either. Like you see other teams when they play the run, it's okay, we whiffed on a TFL, but then we have 3 hats that are just like flying to the ball. So no, we didn't get the 2-yard loss, but we got a no gain out of this play because somebody contacted the ball behind the line of scrimmage and slowed the ball down. With the Patriots, they can slow the ball down behind the line of scrimmage, and then the guy still gains 5 yards. And those body blows just add up over the course of time. That to me has been the most disappointing part about their run defense. Maybe the physicality at the point of attack and that type of stuff is personnel. But in terms of like their just effort and the fact that they just don't rally or bring hats to the football consistently to bottle up runners, it's a lot of one-on-one in space. Like if that guy doesn't make the tackle, then nobody might make the tackle, sort of thing. It's been probably the most frustrating part of the team for me personally to watch on film every Monday is their fits, their inability to play blocks, their angles, and like their ability to leverage or push runners back into the teeth of the defense, to the numbers of the defense. They just do not play fundamentally
And how
sound.
about just the tackling? Just the number of times that even when they are in the right place at the right time, they can't bring the guy down. A lot of run. You probably hate this. I don't know how you feel about this cliche. I do believe in it to an extent. A lot of run defenses just want to.
Yeah.
It's just effort.
No, I agree with you.
It's just being bigger, meaner, angrier, stronger than the guy opposite you. Who wants it more? And when you can't stop the run, it kind of reflects that way. Also, just backtrack real quick because I see the chat is pissed at me. I'm not saying that, the Patriots helped their draft stock by winning that last game. I'm saying don't expect anybody in that building to say, no, we need to go out and lose for the draft. I'm saying internally, they should not be looking at that as we want to lose this game for the draft. They should be wanting to pull out every win they can. Obviously, yes, it's better for the draft positioning if they lose. Ideally, you play a close competitive game and you lose, so you still have something to build on. But people are saying, I just want to be clear, I'm not saying it's better for them in the draft if they win that game. It's obviously not. I just don't expect them to. They're not going to be going into that game thinking about the draft, nor should they. They're
at the coach and player level now.
Yeah, and exactly. Just to clear that up.
I love it when the chat gets on you, though. I do like it. But, I'm not suggesting that they're going to go out there and tank by any means. Like that's not what any team, I truly believe that's not what any team does. Now, did executives and did owners maybe do it?
It happens from
maybe.
the GM level up.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's not an individual game. Hey, we need to go lose this thing. It's we're not going to invest a ton in this roster because we need to reset. We need the draft picks.
Right.
We need to reset the cap. Like
we're going to go into this season with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as our quarterbacks.
Exactly. You don't get maybe at the trade deadline you decide like, hey, we're going to sell off guys. That's more so in other sports than football. You don't get to week 18 and say we need to lose this game. It's not how it works.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think about the draft pick because I don't coach or play in the game. So I'm going to consider
and look who you're talking to about don't think of the draft pick.
Yeah, right.
That Jets game last year, I was up there. I'm picturing Drake May the whole time. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So the other element of this Bills game, just to go back there, and then we'll
Yeah.
do 3 up, 3 down. I know everybody wants us to talk off season, so we'll get to that in a second. But the other element of this game that I have found myself being like lowercase c concerned about is
I used this take earlier for the Celtics.
Lowercase c.
I'm
not big C yet. Like, I'm not like really worried about it yet. But
Is this take or the Celtics?
No, it's nothing to do with the Celtics.
You lowercase W or uppercase W worried about the Celtics?
Lowercase.
Okay, me
like
too.
the smallest case.
Me too.
Yeah. In terms of the Patriots, though, back to the show. This is a lowercase W worried about Drake May in the red zone and just their red zone offense in general. Now, the Drake May in the red zone angle probably improves when he has better supporting cast, right? Like that element of it, I will totally allow for. The concern that I have with it is 2 things. One, there was some of this at North Carolina. They had some issues finishing drives at North Carolina too, and he had some issues with blitz zero, turnovers in the red zone, like that kind of stuff. So this is probably, in reality, the more important development for him than like people making the big deal out of the footwork and like all that stuff. I always thought that was kind of way overblown. This type of stuff, though, I don't think is as overblown with him in college to the pros. And it doesn't help that he doesn't have the most creative play caller. When you get down there, you need to be creative. I'm not talking about like double passes and stuff. I'm just talking about scheme and motion and stretching the field horizontally and knowing how to use the space of the field and all that kind of stuff. But you also have to look at it, and it took them 10 plays to score from the 8-yard line.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, and the Bills are just sending the house, and they just can't get a cover zero beater. Now, he had one on the play that he dropped the snap, which was the one time where I thought that he was a little shaky in this game. And so you have that situation at the end of the game where if they score before the 2-minute warning, like now they're in business with 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning down by 3, at least you're putting the Bills in a position where they have to put a drive together to close out the game. Yeah. It's not just one first down and the game is over. The interception, there's a lot of fault on that interception. The route combination, obviously, Kendrick Bourne and Austin Hooper, like that, it was an ugly route combination in terms of the execution on that play. Don't mind the route combination. It's actually, scissors is actually a pretty good high red zone play that a lot of teams run, but it just wasn't executed great. But the thing that I see with Drake in the red zone is that he's a big anticipatory thrower, and he likes to see the space in the defense, right? Like, here are the voids in what I'm looking at, and I'm just going to anticipate that Austin Hooper is going to run into this void. But the problem is that a lot of things have to go right then from the time he releases the ball to the time that the ball arrives at the target. Like the routes hitting correctly, like Austin Hooper reading the play the same way that he reads the play. And in the open field between the 20s, those types of throws, if he makes that exact same throw, that might just be an incomplete pass. But because the space is so condensed in the red zone, that middle of the field safety, it's an easier play for him to get to the sideline there and make that play. So it's a lowercase W. Like, I'm not trying to be panicky or anything about it just yet. But they've struggled in the red zone all year long, but also with Drake at quarterback. It's probably the one area where they haven't shown real improvement with Drake. Like, everything else is up, like yards, points, everything else is up with Drake at quarterback. But the one thing that isn't is their red zone efficiency.
Yeah, I think just talent will fix some of that. He'll have more time there. And
I agree.
That's not just a Drake May thing. A lot of young quarterbacks, like the red zone's kind of one of the last things to come. Having a better run game would be a big way to help him. But if you remember my take after the Titans game on Drake May, like, he plays with an inner dialogue of, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Or I guess I'll have to do it myself. he's been better about that the last few weeks, except in the red zone. And he even said after the game, you could tell he's frustrated with it. He said, yeah, a lot of time the red zone ultimately comes back to the quarterback. I've got to be better. And yes, he can be better in the red zone, but I do feel like there is room for him to trust others to make plays down there. And I get why maybe he doesn't based on the way this year's gone. But when you get, we'll do off season. I don't know. Did you hear the clip on the Athletic Football podcast this week about a certain receiver that we've talked about on this show?
No.
We'll get to that. When you get him a guy like that, I think things will start to open up for him.
There's a lot of things that are personnel driven in this offense, and like I said, I when it comes to red zone, especially Van Pelt shares in a lot of the blame, and it took until week 17 for them to run Drake in the red zone. Like, that's not his fault. Like, that's what they're calling for him to run. And I think one of the elements of, with Van Pelt that I've had, criticisms of with the red zone stuff is that a lot of it is progression-based reads for Drake in a condensed area where things happen a lot faster down there. And like you said, young quarterbacks this tends to be the last frontier for young quarterbacks, is throwing in the red zone. So you have a young quarterback that isn't exactly there yet in terms of the red zone, and instead of running some read options, some RPO, some more creative type play calls to just sort of take him out of drop back mode, right? Like, that's what I see the most of, is like you're asking him to drop back pass all the time.
Yeah.
And if you were willing to run the quarterback a little bit, great red zone plays like for Philly, like their quarterback draw play out of empty is one of their dynamite red zone plays, right?
Yeah.
You just empty the backfield. You usually get 5 in the box against 5 blockers, and Jalen Hurts just runs the ball down there. Like, those are the types of things that if they were doing more of those things, then he wouldn't have to always try to throw the ball into the end zone from a drop back situation. And they just don't do those types of things. So that's been frustrating to me from a red zone perspective, is they should be finishing more of these drives. I mean, what was it? It was the Colts game that they were 2 for 6 in the red zone, I believe it was.
Right,
and then, this game,
weren't good in the Cardinals game either.
Yeah, this game it's been tough too, with the Bills. So those would be my 2 biggest nitpicks. Obviously there's individual players, which we'll get to now, 3 up, 3 down. But in terms of conceptually, run defense, I think at this point is what it is, and that's a next season problem. I would like to see them be a little bit more buttoned up in the red zone in these last 2 games. Like, can you get some stuff that makes you feel better about how they look down in the red area? And it's a big part of Alex Van Pelt's evaluation for me, because they're down in red zone. That's where coordinators make their money.
I will say this, though. You know who the best red zone defense is in the NFL?
The Chargers.
Los Angeles Chargers, 44% touchdowns.
Yeah, big reason why, and we'll talk a little Chargers, the big reason why they're really good in the red zone, their defensive coordinator.
Gus Edwards just ruled out J.K. Dobbins questionable.
Okay. I think we should get the Patriots then shortly. The big reason why they're a really good red zone defense, Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator, is really, really good at keying on your tendencies on early downs and putting you in long down and distance.
Do it.
So if you get into the red zone and he kind of knows what you're going to do on first and second down, and now you're in third and pass in the red zone all the time, that's a tough way to live. Like, you don't want to live in third and pass. And I think the Patriots get into those situations a lot, where they're in late down passing situations from like the low red area, which is a really tough place to be. I mean, we saw that against Buffalo, just setting everybody and putting them in tough spots in that situation. And that drive, how many? I think it was 3 defensive pass interferences that extended that drive. So the Patriots need to clean that up. Let's do 3 up, 3 down. We'll talk a little Chargers and a little draft as always. But do you want to start us off on 3 up, 3 down? You prepared this week?
I am prepared because I already did this week.
Well, it's funny because we kind of just did the same show you did on Tuesday on the Sports Hub with Greg Bedard. Yeah. Anyways.
So I'll do this a little different because that one had to be 3 up, 3 down. I actually had 2 up, 5 down.
Oh wow, 5 down. You're critical this week.
Yeah, a little bit. One of them you might have a problem with, but
oh boy.
First up, Christian Ellis, who I feel like has been on here weekly for me.
You have him as an up.
I have him as an up. You have him as a down?
No, I didn't think about him.
I thought that he made one good play in space early in the game, good tackle in space. He had the pass breakup. I mean, for what it was, the ball hit off the back of his helmet, but he was right there in coverage.
Yeah.
A couple other plays where I thought he was in the right spot defending the run. They were maybe bigger run plays because there were other holes for the back to find, secondary holes. And this maybe says more about the Patriots' current roster than it does about Christian Ellis. He's just been steady. He's been, I don't know how many plays he's like gone out and made, right? Created. I don't know how many plays he's created. But there haven't really been a ton of instances where he's doing the wrong thing either. He just always seems to be in the right place, right time, makes the plays that are there to be made. And especially on defense this year, there's not that many guys you can say that about on this team. Like, if we were to talk about just output for this season, Christian Ellis, top 15 player on the team? Top 10? Like,
that says a lot.
And again, I acknowledge this maybe says more about the roster than it does about Ellis.
Yeah.
Who's been more impressive this year, Christian Ellis or Kyle Duggar?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with Ellis, the biggest thing that I see is that he has a role. You know, I think he has a role on an NFL roster as a passing downs linebacker.
Yep.
I do. Now, they have to use him a little bit more on early downs than he's probably built for.
But even when he's in those situations, again, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been, I don't really see him getting exposed.
He just can't get off blocks in the running game. He's just too small.
Right.
And some of that's, you know, we've talked about this in the past with the run defense. I don't love how they play the run with this personnel because they're still trying to two-gap and they're still trying to get their linebackers to take on blockers and things like that. And Christian Ellis is, 230, 235 pounds?
Yeah.
Sione Takitaki, another guy who's a smaller guy that's more going to win with athleticism and smarts than he is with physicality. So I don't necessarily put it on Ellis that they're asking Ellis to stand over the bubble and then take on a guard, at the point of attack. Like, that's not a Christian Ellis problem. That's a DeMarcus Covington and Gerard Mayo problem. So
no, I think he had another solid game, and I think he's had a solid year.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
My first up was Jonathan Jones.
That was my other one.
Yeah, I thought Jonathan Jones was fantastic in this game.
Best game of the year.
Best game of the year. Best game I've seen him play in quite a bit. Look, Khalil Shakir is now the Bills' engine of that offense. He's the straw that stirs the drink. It's very Edelman-esque, I would say, in terms of how they run that offense through him in the slot. Jonathan Jones on 12 routes in man-to-man coverage against Khalil Shakir allowed one catch. It was that little drag route over the middle of the field in the second half. One catch and 12 yards, and guess what? On that one catch, he forced a fumble. On the one catch that he allowed.
Textbook peanut punch.
Yeah, peanut punch. So even though he gave up a catch, he still made a play on the ball. On that play, he had the pass break up in the end zone, which was just perfect trail man coverage. I just thought he was all over Khalil Shakir in this game. And maybe the most sort of just stamp of this game plan against Buffalo was how well prepared they were for Shakir and his route tree. Yeah. It really seemed like Jonathan Jones knew the route that Shakir was going to run before he ran it. Kudos to him for his preparation on Shakir, but I also would imagine that had a lot to do with what the coaches in the game plan was as well. So they recognized, Shakir is an in-breaking route runner. He's going to run crossers. He's going to run slants. He's going to run things over the middle of the field. So they just put Jonathan Jones in an inside trail technique and had him just shadow him across the field, and then they would put a safety up over the top of him so that if they went deep, he would have that safety help over the top, and he was just in his shirt all day long. I mean, really great coverage game.
Throwback Jonathan Jones.
Yep, absolutely.
Who else you got?
Who else you
got?
got?
Was my Christian Ellis, John Jones.
You only had two, really.
I would have put Drake May, but he threw the pick, and I didn't love him dropping the ball on that snap in the red zone.
Yeah,
so it was like...
I considered Drake May as well.
He was like close to up, but not up.
So the sticky thing about Drake, and I'm with you, I considered it because the tough thing about him is that it feels like they wouldn't be in these games if it wasn't for him, but it also feels like he's making some critical errors, so it's hard to put him on the ups, but like at the same time, you have to recognize he's the most valuable player on the team.
So this is where I was at with Drake, basically, in this game. And we didn't talk about this in the open. I wanted to talk about this. I'm glad we're getting to it. And I said this with Greg on Tuesday. Just for him to go into that environment, both handling the coldest game of his career, Buffalo, it's loud, it was kind of later in the day, just all those, like that was a big game environment. It obviously wasn't a big game for the Patriots at 3-11, but that was a big game environment. And you don't know how these guys are going to handle it, especially a guy that was in the ACC. We're seeing in the college football playoff right now, like what these kids look like when they go into a real road playoff game. Right. I think that's a big reason the games were lopsided last week. So you don't know what he's going to look like. And he went in there and they showed him on TV early and I thought, he looks cold.
Yeah.
He looks, but it may have bothered him, but it didn't impact him. And that's really all that matters. In the noise, like some of the play calls gotten late, but there were also times he was able to handle it and make it work and things like that. If we're talking about the long-term 5-10 year window, that game was incredibly encouraging for Drake May because, look, the games are going to get bigger, and we'll see. But as much of a big game environment as he's had in the NFL, and that was a pretty legit environment, he handled it well. So you have a quarterback that can go into that environment and handle it. 5-10 year window, great game for Drake May. If we are just talking about who played the best technical football game on Sunday, he's not towards the top of the list because he had his issues. But for a rookie in that spot, the issues he had, you live with and you say, okay, overall, he did what he needed to do in this game for what this game was.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I believe it was Van Pelt, right, that mentioned that it was good for the younger players.
Yeah, he talked about that today.
To play in Buffalo for the first time and get that first game under their belt. And I agree. And in some ways, granted, they're going to have to do it when the stakes are higher, and that's going to be a different kind of pressure. But to have it be sort of a low pressure situation for the first time,
as low pressure of a high pressure situation as you can get,
wasn't maybe the worst thing in the world. That it wasn't a game that they had to win for a playoff seed or something like that. That's
a valuable game for a young team, and the coaches too, not just players, coaches.
Yeah.
It's a valuable game for a young team, and the fact it was as close as it was this goes back to what we said off the top. You're talking about the game plan stuff now, the handle. I'm talking about the in-game.
Yeah.
Like 5-10 year projection, you feel really good about that game. You feel better about that game in the 5-10 year window than you do the actual football product we saw on Sunday, which is not necessarily a bad thing for where this team is at.
Yeah, I would just say the other thing with Drake May, the reason why look, he made some fantastic throws in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the touchdown to Booty is just
that's an unbelievable,
beautiful throw.
He had one to Hunter Henry too on third down on an out that he threw before Henry got out of the break. That was like, that's an NFL third down throw right there.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he made several great plays in this game, but the reason why I didn't go put him on the ups.
Yeah,
this game felt a little North Carolina-y to me in terms of his performance, where there's 5 or 6 throws that he made in this game that make your jaw drop, but then there was also the turnovers and some real critical miscues.
He looked more Josh Allen than Josh Allen did in this game. You're going to hate me saying that, but
yeah,
do you agree?
He
looked more like Josh Allen than Josh Allen looked timid.
We'll get to Josh Allen in a second. I would just say that,
I mean, the spin move on the first down run, that's Josh Allen.
Yeah, I would just say that if you could see this game with Drake May any way you want to see it. You could watch this game and you could say, look at this throw, the throw he made to Booty over the middle of the field, when the blitz came and they had to abort the play action fake and he just rolls out and, with his body weight, flying right, he throws back into the middle of the field left. Like that throw is crazy. That's a crazy Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like, unreal throw, right? The touchdown to Booty is a great throw. Some of the third down throws that you mentioned, crosser to Hunter Henry early on in the game, opening drive, scrambles for another first down when there was nobody open. Like those types of plays are him adding to the situation. Like he's elevating the product. Like Kayshon Booty, no offense, but like he's not Randy Moss, right? And he made such a perfect throw on the touchdown to Kayshon Booty that Kayshon Booty had no choice but to catch it. Right? It was literally right in his hands. Like there is no way he was gonna not come away with the football. The other thing I would say about Drake May that almost put him on the ups for me, I don't know about you, but I had some people from Buffalo reach out to me after the game that say that they're capital W worried about how good Drake May played in that game.
I know they're also capital W worried about their own football team. They were not happy about that.
No, there was boo birds at halftime. They were booing him off the field. But a lot of people that I know in Buffalo, friends of mine, and I'm sure your friends said the same thing. We went to school in upstate New York, so we all have friends that
the
are
one
from,
mutual friend we're
Buffalo.
both thinking of was more just mad about the Patriots. Can't believe it.
But a lot of people, I think, in Buffalo are like, well, now they have their own Josh Allen. So if they get this situation around it correct. Anyways, let's get back to the actual list here. So my number 2 up was Jeremiah Farms. Basically,
he was good.
a one-man pass rush in this game. He had 5 quarterback pressures. Nobody else on the team had more than 1. So it was really Jeremiah Farms getting pressure on the quarterback. I do think that was by design, that they were willing to let Jeremiah Farms rush Josh Allen, expecting Josh Allen to go out of the back of the pocket rather than going up through the middle of the pocket. So if you let those interior guys kind of tee off a little bit, and then you keep the edges, firm and make him stay in the pocket, you have some opportunities. He had the sack when he kind of ran into him, but I thought he was the one guy that had impactful pressures in this game and was getting after the quarterback a little bit.
Yeah, I thought he had a solid game.
Now, number 3, I did put Kayshon Boutte on here. I thought Kayshon Boutte was really good in this game. 28-yard touchdown, obviously. He had the 22-yarder on the crosser that I was just talking about where Drake made the off-platform throw. And then he had another chunk play that was left on the field that Drake, with one of his sprays in this game, missed him coming across the field. That probably would have been another 20, 25-yard gain at least if he hits him in stride there. So it almost makes up for the fact that 31 of his yards came on a garbage play to end the half, because he should have had the play on the chunk play that Drake may missed him. So I thought Kayshon Boutte has continued to show that he belongs in the NFL receiver room.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a starting X receiver in the league, but he is a receiver in the league.
He's still just so inconsistent that it's tough to count on him for anything. If he's your 4th or 5th receiver, throwing him out there 10, 15 snaps a game kind of as insurance, I think that's probably the role for him. This is kind of what we've seen from him his whole 2 years here. There's moments where he looks great, but there's just not enough of them strung together.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's go to the downs. You got 17 of them, so hurry up.
I have 5. It's really 4. Ramondre Stevenson, number 1. So we haven't talked about...
It was tough for me with... Sorry to cut you off, but he also had a ridiculous 14-yard touchdown run.
He did.
So I kind of was on the fence about him.
So through his first... I think it's 2... I have this written down. Through his first 299 career... Or I'll do it this way. Through his first 3 NFL seasons...
Yes.
He had 7 fumbles.
Yeah.
This year, he has 7 fumbles.
Yeah, it's a real
He had
problem.
in his first 399 career carries, he had 7 fumbles. In the last 205, he has 7. So almost twice the fumble rate. So we haven't talked about the backwards lateral play yet. I call me a sucker if you want. I kind of believe Alex Van Pelt. I take his side on this. Is it a great play to call there? No. I see what they're going for.
Yeah.
The Bills are getting really aggressive in their rush. They're trying to catch the Bills coming upfield, throw something quick behind them, and get going. I would have probably called just a traditional halfback slip screen.
Little slip screen.
Slip screen. I think that is less risky. It achieves the same goal. Now, that being said, everybody, why would you call a backwards pass in that situation? It's not supposed to be a backwards pass.
Right.
Ramondre Stevenson sunk his route. Why did Ramondre Stevenson sink his route? I'm going to combine my first 2 downs because DeMontre Jacobs, who's the other one, misses the cut block, and Stevenson senses the pressure, steps back. Some of this is on Drake, too. You got to either lead him forward or throw that ball at his feet or throw it away. Should Van Pelt have a better read on the personnel? You're asking DeMontre Jacobs, who's had a rough game, to cut block a great edge rusher. Van Pelt's not innocent in this either. But let's not act like they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to throw the ball backwards 4 yards because that's a good play.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a very basic halfback flat route. The execution, I don't know, I couldn't think of that word. The execution is blown at 3 levels.
Yeah.
And I think that, and on top of that, I know he got hit, but my rule of thumb, the ball hits you in both hands, catch it. And that goes to, there were some drops elsewhere in the game. Frankly, it goes to Drake May's fumble, too. I thought, if I'm assigning blame on that play, DeMontre Jacobs is number 1 to me. Stevenson's number 2, then Van Pelt, then Drake. Was it the best play call? No. And this is a line we've kind of walked this year where on one hand you say, okay, but know who your personnel are. If you can't execute it, don't call it. But if you're in that camp, you can't complain that the play calling's too vanilla, right? Because if you're just calling off the talent, that leaves a lot of things off your play sheet. So for what they are, a 3-11 team trying to pull an upset again, I wouldn't have called that exact play, but they tried something. They took a shot at something. I don't fault the play call a ton there, a little bit, because I think it could have been better. but not a ton, because if you're only going to call what you can do off the personnel, they're really just not going to be running that many plays.
Yeah, so in the moment, the reason why I wasn't like totally critical of it was because they had a drive earlier after the Mapu interception where they were backed up, and Drake May threw 2 really solid passes backed up in his own end zone. One of them with his feet in the end zone to Kayshon Boutte.
Is that the out? Like the 5
was a
down was
hitch,
a great throw.
Yeah.
That was a great throw.
In the third down throw,
He was really good. On Drake's, we didn't touch on it. He was really good outside the numbers in this game, which is a ton of fun.
Yeah, he made a throw on third down to Austin Hooper on a little stick route where he throws it before, like with anticipation, before Hooper came out of his break from like his 5-yard line. Like that's a ballsy throw, right, for a rookie quarterback to just let that thing go and trust that your receiver is going to get open and that it's going to hit off, correctly. So watching how poised he was in that situation earlier on in the game, I had no problem with them trying to throw later on in the game because he already proved that he could do it in this environment. Right. The only little nitpick that I had of Drake May, and I thought Van Pelt said it well about the fumble, he was a little fast. Like that's probably one that he was a little sped up on, and you should probably at least confirm that the end is cut before you throw the ball. Because if you're Drake May, and I've heard Brian Hoyer said throw it at his feet, well, it's a backward pass if you throw it at his feet, right? Like so either way, it's a fumble if you throw it backwards.
Roll out, throw it out of bounds. You probably have somebody on the backside,
like run it for a no gain sack or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's other options to eat it without throwing it behind the line.
One other take on that: Drake May did this once, but I saw this a ton in the NFL the last few weeks and in college.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this rising trend of quarterbacks running out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage instead of throwing the ball away?
Was it this week or in Arizona that he did it?
This week.
Yeah,
he might have done it in Arizona too, but it happened a couple times in the college games. It happened, I think C.J. Stroud did it against the Chiefs last week.
Yeah, he did. I actually might have counted it as a minus play.
I hate it. I don't know why this is suddenly a thing. I don't know if it's stat padding. I don't know what it is. If you're like toe on the line, just flick it. Just flick it out of bounds.
I don't know what it is, but I mean, in this game, it was a 1-yard loss compared to
his wasn't as egregious as some of the other ones I've seen. Anyway, that was a side tangent.
No, he has done it a couple times. We're being a little critical on Drake, though, so we're just going to reel it back in.
No, I really meant that as, like, there were some, not Drake, it just made me think of it, some really egregious ones elsewhere around the league. This has been a trend, like, I really think the whole year. I've even seen Mahomes do it.
Bad coaching.
What are we doing?
Yeah. A lot of these quarterbacks, I think, too, that are mobile, everybody's mobile now at that position for the most part. And so I wonder how much of it is that they get out the pocket, have their eyes downfield trying to make a play, and they kind of lose where they are relative to the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? I think that's an element of it, too. And, like, if you're in that situation, if you're running up the field, like you feel yourself running up the field, right? So you probably think to yourself, oh, I'm definitely past the line of scrimmage at this point, when you're really not, because you drop back so far, right? You lost so much ground in your drop. Anyways, I still had Drake for 11 plus plays to 7 minus. He was still a net positive in this game. So I don't want to make it sound like we're ragging on him too much, but now that they get into these games, to your point about the in-game coaching, like these 4 or 5 plays, I think that was another thing that Mayo or Van Pelt said today. They basically lost this game because of like 4 or 5 plays, right? And that's what it comes down to. My number one down in this game, you mentioned him already, was Trey Jacobs. Yeah. This was tough. This was a tough go of it for Trey Jacobs. 5 quarterback pressures, 2 quarterback hits, 2 false starts, and the blown chop block, also cut block, whatever you want to call it. I should call it a cut block because chop block's illegal. Cut block on Greg Rousseau on the fumble 6. So just some really non-competitive reps too. I think that's what stood out the most to me. Look, 5 pressures isn't the worst game I've ever seen from a tackle. I mean, there's been times the guys have been in the double digits, so it's not horrible in that respect. But he had 4 or 5 reps against Von Miller where he didn't even get his hand on Von Miller as he was coming around the edge, like just non-competitive blow-bys. Those can't happen. Like, you have to at least be a traffic cone, right? Like, you have to at least get him to go and widen the rush a little bit. Like, you can't just have these no-contest rushes like he did in this game. So, Caden Wallace, if if he's starting to heat up a little bit in practice, I definitely do think that this is the type of game where you could consider making a move. Now, they're going to have a new center already in Cole Strange, it sounds like, for Sunday, so that would be 2 new starters. But look, you're 3-12, and you have 2 games to go in the season. It's not really whatever.
Might as well take a look at this point.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 down.
So I had Stevenson, Jacobs, Kyle Duggar. He had one play in this game where I think it was Knox catches the pass in the flat and Duggar runs right up and sticks him.
Yeah.
Like no extra. I was like, where has that guy been?
Yeah.
That's the Kyle Duggar I know, but missed another couple more tackles. He still doesn't look right.
Yeah, he's playing through something. I think that's pretty clear at this point. I just had my number 2 down. I just had the run defense as a whole. I think everybody just stunk in that regard. 8 missed tackles, like I mentioned earlier in the run game. 4 of them would have been tackles for loss. You give up a 46-yard touchdown in this game, in the run game. And to your point, the Bills could have ran the ball all day long.
I don't know why they didn't.
I don't know why they didn't either. I would expect the Chargers to run the ball all day long on Saturday. Like, this run defense is just bad. Like, it's just a bad run defense. So I would definitely anticipate the Chargers to run the ball a ton. All right, what else do you got?
I had Marte Mapu just for running the interception out. He didn't have a bad game. That was bad play.
He had one of the most eventful games
That's a good way to put it.
I've ever charted. Like, there was some plays where he was just really good on the play, right? Like the crosser that he undercut where he almost picked it off again on the next drive after the interception was a really good coverage rep. Like, that's a really good rep. He had some really high level plays in this game. Even the interception, like, just a nice job of playing the post and, just not getting baited out or anything like that and just sit there and wait for the ball to come to you. Some really good plays in this game, and then he also had some really knucklehead plays in this game. Yeah. So he was a tough one. Yeah.
And then I just had the game management, which we already talked about.
Okay. So I have one more down that you're going to love.
Oh, boy. Josh Allen?
I have one more down that you're going to love.
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
Let's go.
Josh Allen, and I don't mean to, glass houses, right? I get it. But I'm a big Josh Allen fan, as you know, much to your chagrin. This was one of the worst Josh Allen games I've seen him play against the Patriots since he became Josh Allen, right? We're talking about rookie year Josh Allen, second year Josh Allen with this game. He missed a lot of plays in this game. He left a lot of plays on the field. Some egregiously wide open receiver type misses a couple of times. And I just felt like the Patriots, to their credit, baited him into playing a lot of hero ball in this game. Old Josh Allen going to roll right, chuck it, 20, 45, 50 yards down the field, low percentage throws. He had one on the wheel you mentioned that Christian Ellis was in good position on. He had a couple to Shakir that just had no chance of being caught. I don't care that it's an arm punt. Like, the interception was another one where, find a profit.
That's what CBS said. What an arm punt. Wow, because you can't say Josh threw a pick.
So, on the one hand, I texted you this on Monday, the Patriots finally got a bad Josh Allen game. This was the first bad Josh Allen game that I think I've seen him have against the Pats in a long, long time. Now, the downside is they didn't win it, right? Like he kind of handed them an off game by his standards, and they still didn't win the game, which is a bummer. But I was disappointed in my guy. He did not play well in this game.
He did not.
So I had Josh Allen.
Good for you for admitting that.
Yeah. Also, a couple honorable mentions. Joe Brady, honorable mention. Another guy that I really like. The one thing I'll give them, I don't think they necessarily thought they had to run Josh Allen in this game to win it. So they kind of put the quarterback run stuff on the back burner to get him through the game.
Still could have run traditional runs.
So that wasn't completely the Bills' offense unleashed like we saw against the Rams and the Lions. That was sort of like a watered-down version of the Bills' offense, but I thought that was a big reason why they got off to such a bad start in this game, was because they didn't really play their game. They sort of just put in the four corners offense and thought that they were going to roll because the Patriots stink, and they did in the second half to some degree, but still they left that door open to get upset in a game they had no business losing. And a lot of that I felt like was on the quarterback and the offensive play caller. A couple, I thought that Ramondre Stevenson was another one that I considered. The reason why I didn't put Ramondre on my list is because the 14-yard touchdown run was just so good.
I considered not, but
yeah.
If it was like his second or third fumble of the year, I probably wouldn't have. But because he has that
fair.
history.
Yep. So that concludes 3 up, 3 down. I do want to discuss a couple of other things with the Patriots, but I know we have callers and stuff like that, so we'll get to you guys here in just a second. But first, Bridgestone, the official tire of the New England Patriots, is proud to partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you. And the new year is almost here, and it's time to get a fresh start with Bob's Discount Furniture. Start your 2025 off right by picking up stylish storage that will take care of that junk pile haunting your hall. And when you're done organizing, get a great night's sleep thanks to the quality and comfort of a brand new Bobopedic mattress. So stop in and stock up for the new year at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. I might need one of those storage units. Like we have like an office / second bedroom situation, and man, there's stuff everywhere in that room. So maybe I'll go to Bob's and try to buy a storage unit. All right, let's get to the phones here. Patty is in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey,
what's up?
So, my question, you were just talking about the guy I was going to ask a question about, which is Ramondre Stevenson. I know it's not really a team-friendly contract, but it's a decent enough contract where do you guys think there's a chance that might move on from him after this year due to his fumbling problems? Or do you think they try and get him some help in the offseason? Like I had the idea on John Rook's show on Tuesday of maybe hooking him up with somebody like Tiki Barber, who had fumbling problems early in his career, and then I don't know what he did, but like he shored it up. And that's all I got. I'll take it off the air, guys, and happy holidays, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Thanks for the call. Yeah, and happy holidays to you too. Look, the Ramondre thing is a concern with the fumbles. It's not even early on in his career, though. Like I feel like Tiki Barber was right out of the gate.
Again,
he had a fumbling.
Ramondre had as many fumbles in his first 3 years as he did this year. This is kind of new.
Yeah, it's a new thing. I don't know what it is. You know, his running style, he does invite a crowd. And I think now people know that. So when you have 2-3 guys around the ball, not everybody has to tackle him. So some guys are going to start punching for the ball and start doing that sort of thing. I like Antonio Gibson. I do. I think Antonio Gibson's a solid change of pace back. So I don't know what the answer is. Like maybe you get a third running back in here, but now you're really talking about replacing Ramondre Stevenson, hoping that draft pick is better. I don't think that's necessarily so much about helping him. Like I think Gibson's been enough of a help.
Yeah, he's already been a spellback. You're not going to spell him anymore. You can't really get out of that contract. You're not going to sit him on that contract.
Yeah.
He just has to work through it. Like he's going to be here after next year. It's another conversation, but he's going to be here next year, and there really isn't much of an option besides him working through it.
Yeah. All right. Colleen is in Houston. What's up, Colleen?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I have a couple comments and then questions. So my comment is I would agree with Alex about like getting a winning record, or not record, but winning DNA is great. But if they win against Mitch Trubisky, who sucks, like that's not going to give the locker room a boost. Anyway, but my question is, so you guys like Will Campbell, which is great, but he apparently has small arms. So how do you feel about Kelvin Banks? And then also, Joe Tooney is currently playing left tackle with short arms. How do you feel about that? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Colleen. I appreciate the call. And, to the Joe Tooney thing, Joe Tooney's like a cyborg. That guy's an alien. You could play him at left guard. You could play him at left tackle, and he's going to just block people.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, he's been in the NFL for years and years and years. He knows how it works. He's not trying to make that jump. Like, he's been blocking NFL rushers for a while.
Yeah, I don't know what his arm length is exactly.
I just pulled up 32 and a quarter.
Okay, because he played tackle in college.
Yeah.
Joe Tooney did, and then they moved him inside when he got to the NFL. With Will Campbell and his arm length, we'll see. We'll see what it is in Indy. I thought Kelvin Banks showed really well against Clemson. Now, Clemson was totally overmatched in that game.
But it's Clemson. They always have a good defense.
And we'll get to the college football playoff here in a second because I know we want to do those takes too. But look, we're going to debate the Will Campbell short arm, not short arm, left tackle guard conversation for months and months and months. And at this point, he doesn't have any film that I haven't seen, right? Like there's no new film. I don't know. Is he going to play in their bowl game?
I doubt it.
Yeah,
I think he might have already said he's not, but yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah, right. So like there's not a ton of new film for him at this point. So it really comes down to what the measurements and what we see in Indianapolis. Like that, the combine is going to be the determining factor for him.
And I thought it was interesting. Scott Peters said, was it last week, that 33 inches is not a definite cutoff for him. Like you got to be really good and know what you're doing if you're under 33. But even if he gets close, there's a lot to think about there.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to take all your calls and emails and do some draft and college football talk. So we'll see you guys in a second.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store, and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store, and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store, and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store, and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
We're back. All right, we're back. You good?
Yeah.
We're good. All right. It's been a long day for you.
It has been
And your
a long day.
your
for me.
day is still going after
No,
this, I
yeah.
believe.
I got one more show, and then I'm a writer. I gotta write my game previews. So.
Hardest working guy in Boston.
And then I'm
sports
back
media
on the
right
radio
here.
10 a.m. tomorrow. So I'm.
But this is a big week for you, though.
No, I love it.
You
Like
take
I
it. You take it.
You know what? I do this to you all the time. Oh, poor Alex. He has to
Yeah,
talk
that's
about
so true.
football all day. What a tough life. Like
That's
no,
so true.
I wouldn't.
You are doing a world's smallest violin right now.
I wouldn't trade it. Well, but I can admit that, unlike you, who legitimately complains. I wouldn't trade it. That being said, I cannot wait to get a good 15 hours night of sleep the day. So the season ends, but the season will end for us next Sunday, right?
Yes.
But that's not when the season ends, because you have it's usually not the whole week,
yeah.
but Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah,
Wednesdays
right.
recap stuff. You'll do
Right.
here's who they're playing next year. Here's who the free agents are. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But that, honestly, that Thursday we'll have the show.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna go home and sleep until the playoff game starts Saturday afternoon. I'll probably sleep until Saturday afternoon.
I get it, and yeah, you know, I'll still do my film review on Monday from week 18. I'll still
Right.
do one. So really, you're talking about Tuesday or Wednesday for the season to officially the book.
Usually
to be closed.
Wednesday night, I'm starting to wrap it up. We have the show
Yeah.
Thursday, so it's by
yeah,
the time I'm
yeah,
through that. Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, so maybe Thursday when the show's over,
Thursday, I'm
we'll
gonna
both
take a nice
we'll both feel
long nap. I
we'll
can't
both
wait.
feel like it's and then I'll be in Mobile 2 weeks later. So
That's right.
It's not. I think at least
I can't rest for too long because then I get stir crazy. And it's
Yeah.
I need to do something. So
Yeah.
4 or 5 days about where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. Back to football.
Yep.
And I do want to talk a little bit of college football playoff.
Yep.
And you said we had to do a segment on college football playoffs, so here's our segment on it. I'm not going to get on you about the fact that these games were not competitive.
Well, no, can I
and
just
not
say
fun.
this? What a weird weekend for me because two of my big takes, especially on the show, are
Yeah.
you underrate college football
Yeah.
and you overrate Josh Allen.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there watching those games man, what a sucky weekend. None of these games are good. I got to watch Josh Allen tear up the Patriots tomorrow. This just sucks. And then out of nowhere, Josh Allen just turns back into pre-Brian Daboll Josh Allen. I'm like, all right, I kind of figured everything wasn't going to go my way this weekend, but if that's the one that does, I will absolutely take that. A complete roller coaster of a weekend for me.
So I'm texting you during the college football
Yeah.
games on Saturday, just killing you about how, oh, cool. We got to watch everybody get blown out by 4 touchdowns by much better teams. This was really fun. Really glad that we put, SMU in the college football playoff. Indiana, good for you. You got your participation trophy. You deserve to be there.
Oh, well,
so here we go.
Hang on. If you're going to do that rant, first of all, Indiana had the closest game of any team in the playoffs.
Oh, wow. But what was the final
10
score?
points.
Yeah, it was 10 points, but not really 10
okay,
points.
so you mentioned SMU. Okay, Kirk Herbstreit. And look, I love Kirk, but I hate where him and the rest of ESPN are at on this take.
He's spot on with this
He's
take.
being a company man for ESPN, but he's
Yeah.
not. You mentioned ESPN, or you mentioned SMU.
Yes.
You mentioned Indiana.
Yeah.
You didn't mention the team that had the biggest loss of any this weekend. I wonder why that is.
Who was that?
That's Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
That's SEC darling Tennessee.
Okay, but they also played one of the best teams.
They all played the best teams. It's the playoffs. That's the
No,
point, Evan.
it's not the best teams. That's my point.
They all played
It's
the
not
best.
the best
Penn
teams.
State's not one of the best teams.
Yes, but
Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame's one of the
Indiana
best teams. But
was in the playoff.
Your
for
argument-
a participation trophy. Here's a ribbon. You made it. You deserved
your
it. Yada,
argument
yada, yada.
the whole time.
Yes.
Why can't we get a big boy team like Alabama in the playoff?
Yo, Ole Miss, Alabama.
Alabama
whatever.
lost to Tennessee, who got spanked by Ole Miss.
Okay, but I don't like the.
It's not about the Alabama
with the
and I-
transitive property
I
thing.
know, but it's not a transitive property
it is because,
thing.
you're saying,
But it's
when did
not.
Alabama play Tennessee?
Third Saturday in October.
It's December. So you're telling me that Alabama hasn't gotten any better since October?
No, they've actually pretty much gotten continually worse as the year has gone on. It's been very concerning, frankly. But the point I'm making is what I think happened. I don't think it was about the teams, and it goes back to something we actually talked about with Drake May.
Yeah.
There's never been games like this. This was the first on-campus true postseason game in
the
college
kids
football
willed
history
it, is
since
what you're saying.
1902.
It's the kids.
Yeah.
It's the kids' fault.
You're
blaming a bunch of
It
kids.
is. I
Hope
think
you
the
feel good about
environments
yourself.
were too big, and I think for a team like SMU, I think for a team like Tennessee, the cold. That Tennessee team was not ready to go in that environment.
I can't believe you're blaming a bunch of children, a bunch of 18
They are
and
kids.
19
I
year
would
olds.
not. Well, it's a lot for kids to handle, and ultimately, you know what? It's going to be a good thing for the NFL because when we talk about rookie quarterback, first time in this environment, what's going to be like? Like Nico's going to be from Tennessee. He's going to be an NFL quarterback at some point. I know he had a bad game. He's going to be an NFL quarterback. His first playoff game is going to be a lot easier. Haven't been to the shoe for what that was. So I don't. And if also, if we're going to talk about playoff caliber games should be close. The NFL had a pair of whatever essentially playoff matchups this weekend. How close were those games? So were the first round games duds? Absolutely. Absolutely they were. And you know what, frankly?
I just needed to hear you say that.
It's probably good. It's probably going to be that way for the next 2 years.
It was not worth it.
I don't think
it wasn't worth it.
It was. Because here's the thing. I don't think we'll get all 4 being duds all the time, but there's going to be duds in there because that's what happens in the playoffs. It happens in the NFL. The average scoring margin for the first round was only 2 points higher than it was for Wild Card Weekend last year. And don't tell me that it's all because of that one blowout because the Packers blowing out the Cowboys. Cowboys scored 2 garbage time touchdowns. The other thing is the round of 8 games are going to be awesome. Oregon, Ohio State, to me, is the national championship. And I think you said that too.
Which I don't like because that game it's only a quarterfinal game.
But that happens all the time. How many times?
But Oregon, Ohio State, to me, like that, it just feels like that should be a game that was played later on in this playoff, and it's not because of the format of the bye weeks for teams like Arizona State and teams.
That doesn't.
What's the other team that has the bye that shouldn't? BYU.
Boise.
Boise.
I would reseed after. I would reseed.
I know where BYU came from.
I would reseed after the first round because they were supposed to be in it. They were supposed to win the Big 12. I think that if that happens all, how many times?
If they didn't have a bye week, these stupid bye week setup, right, where it's not done by the seed, it's done by winning your conference. Just let me finish. If they didn't have that, then teams like Ohio State would have been one of the top 4 teams.
No, they finished ranked 5th, I think.
They finished 5th. Okay, well then they're still not playing Oregon. Is my point.
No,
right? So you're not getting the 2 best teams in the playoff.
And I would go back
round.
to the original seeding after the first round. That is a change they should make. I do like the winning your conference having a bye because it makes winning your conference worth something, which I think is important because it keeps the regular season relevant. But how many times did Brady and Manning meet in the divisional round? And, when he was with the Broncos. And there were those Andrew Luck, no defense Colts teams that were still getting to the AFC Championship, but we knew Brady Manning in the divisional round, this is it. And we didn't complain about it.
I think it happened. I think Brady Manning in the divisional round happened.
But there were a number of other. There were some times when they met the Ravens in the divisional. It happened with the Ravens, and we knew all right. And you had the Tebow Broncos or whatever in the next round. It was that's just kind of how these things work. I don't really care where the game happens as long as it happens. There's going to be some other games in this next round, too, that are good for reasons that we don't need to spend a ton of time on. You were never going to get 8 teams. It was going to be 4, 12, or 16. 16 is too many. We all know 4 was not enough.
What's 8? What's wrong with 8?
It has to do with the SEC and Big Ten kind of run it, but you do have to get the other conferences on board to a certain extent. In the limited at-large bids, they didn't feel like they would get properly represented and blah, 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 blah.
This is college football's problem. This is it right here. That's the crux of the problem, is that this is all, at some respect, this is because, and I get it, but in some points, this is a participation trophy because there's so much money to be made for a program like SMU from being in this game, or a program like Indiana that's trying to be up and coming and is trying to build. There's so much at stake for those types of teams to be included in the playoff that it becomes a situation of we're just putting this team in the playoff because they have the resume for it, but also because we want the participation trophy.
March Madness, we celebrate Cinderellas. Why can't we do that here?
Because there aren't going to be any Cinderellas.
Until there is. It took how many years for a 16 to beat a 1? They said it would never happen. A 16 beat a 1. No, but
I will give you this. Any major Cinderella.
I will give you this. Eventually it will because they'll seed it wrong. Yeah. It will be a 12 that shouldn't be a 12. I think college football's biggest strength and its biggest weakness are the same thing, which is there is basically no overarching governing body.
Yeah.
In some ways, that makes because like the NFL, a lot of the issues with the NFL are there's a lot of uniformity to it.
Yeah.
And the college football does not have uniformity. And in some ways, that's a big strength, but in an instance like this, it's a big weakness. I don't think the playoffs perfect. I don't think 4 bad games. It's unfortunate, but I don't think 4 bad games off the jump are enough to damn the whole tournament.
Okay. So that being said, the other big element.
Let's get into some draft stuff.
Yeah.
I might have a very hot draft take on the playoff that you're either going to love or hate.
Okay. So the other big element of this is obviously what I'm doing, which is watching these games for the purposes of the draft and evaluating guys in the draft. The 2 biggest takeaways that I have from this game wasn't a big Abdul Carter week, I didn't feel like, but I watched some of the film back, and it seemed like he was better on film than he was watching live.
SMU, to a fault, made a point in that game of saying we're not going to go near Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why they did it, but they had, when he needed to show up, he showed up. So they had 4 trips to the red zone. That should have been a close game because they had 4 trips to, when I say that I don't mean like, they had 4 trips to the red zone.
Yes.
They scored 3 total points.
Okay.
Penn State's defense came up big. Oh, sorry, one more thing before we get to the draft.
Yeah.
Kurt Signetti, Indiana, what'd you think of that punt? The 4th and 8?
I think that guy's a kook.
That's your national coach of the year.
Yeah.
Consensus national coach of the year. You don't think Bill Belichick's going to run circles through this thing?
Of course.
He's doing well in the portal. Anyway, back to the draft. Abdul Carter.
In the portal, baby. Can't
Abdul
wait.
Carter.
North Carolina football.
I can't wait. Abdul Carter.
So I thought Abdul Carter looked better than I was expecting, and I agree with your general premise that they game planned obviously for a guy like Abdul Carter and sort of were saying we're not going to let him take over the game. And although that might hurt his down to down production a little bit, like that's in itself the case to draft him, right? Is that he is a game plan player. He's a Tuesday player that you have to then go out and devise a blocking plan, a pass blocking plan for how are we going to prevent him from taking over games. That opens up opportunities for other people. Now, Christian Barmore eats, Keon White eats, whatever. Like I'm just using Patriots as an example.
And I'll just add this, and obviously everybody saw what he did on Saturday. Going into that game, Abdul Carter, not Abdul Carter, Kevin Jennings, one of the Heisman favorites for next year. And
doesn't look like it.
Correct response. And I think some of that was the moment was just too big for him and he needs to grow. But part of it, he's incredibly mobile. He's incredibly good getting around the pocket. So they had a guy that kind of could counter Abdul Carter, and they just said, never mind, we're not going to touch him.
Yeah, they were afraid of him. I would say that's at least what my takeaway from it. I'm just pulling up real quick his actual pressures because I think that they were better than maybe what people would have expected watching live in that game.
Yeah. Did you think he was the best? And we'll get to Kelvin Banks. I want to put the cap on, but just while we stall here and look it up.
Yeah.
Did you think he was the best of like the top of the draft guys?
No, so I was actually going to get to that.
Okay.
So Abdul Carter in this game against
4 pressures.
Yeah, 4 pressures. So.
5 pressures.
So still pretty good. Right, I mean, like it was definitely one of those games where you had to watch, and you're not going to look at the box score and say, "Oh, Abdul Carter had a huge game." But I'm expecting him to continue to pop, and he just look when you're trying to stack this board and we're trying to figure out who are just the best overall talents in this draft. I still think Travis Hunter is on a planet of his own in terms of pure talent on a football field. But I feel like Abdul Carter is in that next. You have to talk about Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Like you absolutely have to talk about him. That being said, I thought Kelvin Banks was awesome.
He was.
I thought he was really, really good. His run blocking continues to be his best trait to me. He's a people moving run blocker. It's not necessarily like dominant like J.C. Latham man strength, like it's not necessarily that. But he's just very, very good in the running game. And they do a lot of different things with Sark in the run game and move their tackles a lot and ask him to make some high-level blocks that he's going to have to make at the NFL level. So there's translatable stuff there. I'm weary of both these tackles for different reasons. Campbell obviously has the length issue, and Kelvin Banks I don't think is quite as nimble with his feet in pass protection as I would want my left tackle to be ideally. But he's a talent. He's a really, really good football player, and I'm starting to come around to him. If he plays like this the rest of the playoff, now Will Campbell doesn't have this opportunity, right? Like he doesn't have the opportunity to play in the playoff and show out. But if Kelvin Banks plays this way the rest of the playoff, then I think there's going to be a lot of OT1 conversations that he's going to be the clear-cut number one tackle.
And he's got, so they have Arizona State, which is
might as well be a double-A team.
No, they have some NFL talent, but not that he's going to be going up against. So that one doesn't help him a ton. Assuming they win, though, they get Ohio State or Oregon. And he is going to have a chance to make some serious money. It's going to be the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
He's going to have a chance to make some serious money in that game. I don't know if you want to talk about any of the other top guys in terms of the Patriots.
I was just curious now because I obviously was watching those two specifically. Is there anybody else that stood out to you from this weekend, past weekend?
There weren't a ton of guys going, at least from the top of the board. There were some mid-level guys. Right. Tyler Warren had a good game against SMU.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the Georgia pass rushers. Obviously, we didn't see them. They had the bye.
Yeah, I would love to see Banks get another crack at Georgia.
I would too.
Yeah.
Here's kind of where my hot take was. This is more a league take, but this could impact the Patriots, especially we talked about what might happen if they win another game in the draft. And it's a 2-quarterback draft right now, right? So you figure 1-2, and it's going to be Giants, Raiders.
If that, honestly.
Cam Ward's playing in the Pop-Tart Bowl. Which is kind of surprising.
You love the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I do love the Pop-Tart Bowl. Second only to the Mayo Bowl.
Love the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I do. It's an edible mascot. What's not to love? What flavor are you picking? So the MVP of the winning team, there's 3 flavors this year. Gets to pick the flavor.
Brown cinnamon sugar. I'm a classic Pop-Tart guy. I do like s'mores a lot too. Like if I had to, s'mores is a great Pop-Tart. But I'm a classic brown cinnamon and sugar Pop-Tart guy.
The flavors this year,
I don't think that's a hot take, right?
Wild berry, hot fudge sundae.
Come on, like what are these?
I thought there was frosted cinnamon roll is the mystery flavor.
Of course, freaking Gen Z, man. They just got to make everything like. Can we just go back to the classics? Can we go back to brown cinnamon sugar and can we go get s'mores up there? Because
frosted cinnamon roll, it's brown cinnamon sugar. Same thing.
They have to call it frosted cinnamon roll now because brown cinnamon sugar is not a cool enough name for it. So they have to spice up the name. That's what.
So back to the take. Let's say the Patriots win another game.
Yes.
Right, they move down a little bit.
Yep.
Could they still be in a position where a team's trying to move up for quarterback? Or maybe even they end up like 34. A team's trying to move up into a Will Levis where we think this guy might be the guy, but we don't want to bet our first-round pick on us. We're going to get him at the top of the second.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Will Howard's performance on Saturday night?
Didn't love it. I don't love him as a prospect.
I thought he's pretty good. Ohio State's quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He's had a really good close to the season.
I probably can't. He was awful against Michigan.
He was terrible against Michigan. But besides that, he played well down the stretch.
Yeah.
Here's my point. So using the big board that we use right now, here are the guys that he is right around or behind.
Okay.
Tell me how many of these guys you think he can realistically jump. Kyle McCord from Syracuse.
Oh, yeah, definitely could jump him. Yeah.
Riley Leonard from Notre Dame.
Oh, God, he's still, yes.
He's just glorified, what's his name from Texas? He played for the Colts.
Colt McCoy?
No, Sam Ellinger. Okay, so that's who's behind him. This is on the big board.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe.
See, that was the one that I was going to mention.
Yeah.
Because...
But he's done. The hay is in the barn with him.
Yes.
I doubt he's going to play in the bowl game.
I don't think he's going to... Right. He can't... Well, he won't play in the bowl game now. Bryce Young played in the Sugar Bowl a couple years ago.
Nick Saban.
That was a huge game for Bryce Young, though.
Yeah, that's true.
He lit Kansas State on fire. He had a huge game. That was probably the game that made it consensus #1 overall pick. Maybe Jalen Milroe. I don't know if he was on that team like as a backup or anything like that, but maybe he follows a similar game plan. Milroe, though, I think is the one to me that I would maybe take a chance on.
Jalen Milroe is playing in the bowl game, actually.
Okay. I'm not surprised because guys have, especially at that position, have really, really helped their stock in the bowl games.
All right. I'll give you a couple more here.
Who are they playing?
Maybe Milroe. Michigan. It's a rematch of the national championship.
So, I feel like
but it is in the...
Because Michigan's defense is still good. And Michigan's defense still schematically is creative and it can do some different things that NFL teams do. So you still go into that game thinking that you're playing a pseudo legit defense, and if he puts up numbers, then that's going to help him.
Last year, Michigan-Alabama was national championship. This year, it is the ReliaQuest Bowl, formerly the Outback Bowl. Okay, so you think maybe Will Howard...
There's no more Outback Bowl?
Not anymore. Maybe Jalen Milroe finishes that. I know you used to get free Bloomin' Onions.
I like Outback.
Carson Beck.
I think
without an elbow.
I think Carson Beck's going undrafted.
I think so, too. He plummeted.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers or Will Howard?
Quinn Ewers.
Really?
You know I don't like Quinn Ewers. I can't
Isn't
get the
Will
Michigan
Howard
game out of my
just
head.
a more physically built? So Will Howard's 6'4", 235.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. He played awful against Michigan, and I can't get that out of my head.
All right. Well, that's the thing about the playoff. We'll see what he does against Oregon. Oregon has a very good defense.
I still feel like, and I understand that, in hindsight, that was a really talented Texas offense last year.
Yeah.
But really, when you think about it, like, it's not like Xavier Worthy or A.D. Mitchell's really lit the world on fire in the NFL either. You know what I mean? So you could go both ways with that. And I do think that some teams a team will convince themselves, not like top 10 pick or anything, but I think a team will convince themselves that they can get last year's Quinn Ewers, right?
All right. And then the last one ahead of him is Jackson Dart.
Yeah, Jackson Dart, I feel like, is more of like a folk hero than he is a quarterback
Correct.
prospect.
That is a great way to put it. He's a college quarterback.
Yeah.
So, all right, maybe Jalen Milroe, maybe Quinn Ewers. I will say Will Howard is going to the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
So we will have that. Maybe it's Ewers then. Maybe it's Howard. Maybe it's Milroe in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Yeah. I'm still not locking in this being a 2-quarterback draft. If Will Howard plays well in this playoff, and that's the thing. I guess it is true for Ewers too, but you look at what Will Howard will have had to have done. Blown out Tennessee. And he put up numbers against an SEC defense. 24 of 29, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. He will have blown out an SEC defense. He will have beat the number 1 team in the country in Oregon, which is another number 1 defense. Another top defense.
Yeah.
All odds are, unless Arizona State pulls off something spectacular, he'll beat Texas. That'll be his second SEC win. And then if he gets one more win, now he gets to throw that national champion tag on top of it. I'm not saying it means he's going to be a great NFL quarterback, but isn't that kind of the resume teams are looking for when they draft a guy?
Sounds a lot like J.J. McCarthy.
J.J. McCarthy, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And maybe that's who he is in the NFL, but we know teams make wrong picks all the time. So I think Will Howard has some room to rise, which could be, and maybe Jalen Milroe does too. We can throw him in his take. That is a factor when we talk about if the Patriots win another game where their pick is, because maybe there's a third quarterback that's not going third like last year, 1, 2, 3, but maybe 5th, 6th, 7th, the team's moving up to take him.
So I like Milroe a little bit, and I don't mean to stereotype, but like there's obviously the Jalen Hurts thing.
Yeah.
And I see some of that comparison with Milroe. I also think that as a passer, he got better this year.
He did get much better.
Yeah, and there's a lot of athleticism there. There's a lot of arm talent there. If you build it like the Eagles have built it for Hurts, and you built it a certain way, I believe that Jalen Milroe could potentially be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But is that enough for him to go in the first round? I don't know, but it's probably enough for him to go in the second, right? Like, I mean,
the
that's where Jalen
consensus
Hurts
mock,
went.
and look, it's too easy for these things, but we like this database.
Yeah.
They have Jalen Milroe going 6th overall right now.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's not happening. Unless I can't. He would have to light up the bowl game, light up the pre-draft process. Like, that would be.
He is going to be impressive. And he's one of the few guys, like, usually top quarterbacks don't do stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he runs at the combine.
Yeah.
And throws and does the whole, because he's going to dominate the combine.
Yeah. That's why I like him. Could he be sort of like, and again, I don't mean to stereotype, but like, could he be sort of like an Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts like type of prospect?
He's not that big though.
He's not as big as Richardson, no.
He's not even as Hurts is shorter, right?
Yeah,
What's
Hurts is like
6'1",
6'1",
6'2",
6 feet, yeah.
Which like Milroe's taller. Oh, he's listed at 220. Wow, I would not have guessed that. I would have guessed he was right around 200.
Yeah, I think he's kind of built a little bit like Jalen Hurts.
All right, doesn't look like it, but.
Yeah. All right. Let's take these phone calls, and I want to talk a little bit Chargers before we wrap up the show here. Justine is in North Carolina. What's up, Justine?
I didn't know at first because, I was like, hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
How are you and stuff? So. I'm good. My problem is that after they had such a terrible game, and then they had such a good game, and it's like everybody was really complaining. Drake May, everybody would say, Drake May just lost 98.5. Drake May lost the game, and
yeah, your station being mean.
And then they're saying, that Ramondre was, got iron hands and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he did run good. I mean, he fumbled once, and then that lateral play, which was probably because they were in the back of the end zone. It's just that they were just, and now they're ready to trade him. I mean, I think he played a better game. He made more yards and played a better game as far as running than he has this all year. And I know it's a problem that he fumbled, but Gibson fumbled as well. And and if they had to have, even though they did not win, which I know that's what a lot of people wanted, they did play so good against the Bills that took away from the MVP status of Josh Allen. So, I mean, they did do good. They did show a good front, and I just don't understand why they don't. I guess I can see they just don't want to be overly confident because it's been ups and downs. But I just want to give them a little break,
Yeah, that's fair, Justina.
Yeah.
Yes,
I know
thanks for the
this
call,
segment
Justina.
she's talking about on the Sports Hub. Matt McCarthy did the lightning round where he just had as many people call in as possible. Did Drake May cost Patriots the game, yes or no? He said yes. There were I think it was 22-3 callers saying no. So he just got put in his place.
That's a very Matt McCarthy thing to do, which I say with all due respect. He just likes to poke the bear a little bit.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's the job.
I
think the biggest thing to me with Drake May.
By the way, the Patriots have ruled Marcus Jones out. Ben Brown is one of 11 that are questionable.
Yes, so Ben Brown still has a chance in the protocol, which
that's going to be tough.
This regime though has done it right.
Yeah.
Drake May cleared protocol.
Well, remember, there's
week.
a not loophole, but it's easier for quarterbacks to get out of the protocol.
Yeah, I also wonder too. If Cole Strange is ready, you probably want to see Cole Strange at some point play this year, and this is probably the opportunity to do it. Ben Brown doesn't deserve to get benched based off of the tape. He played pretty well in this game last week, besides the snaps, which have continued to have been an issue. That's why I was a little bit surprised that it was a concussion, because it's 2 weeks in a row now that he's had some snapping issues, and I actually thought that maybe there was something physically, like an ailment, like a core issue or like a upper body type injury that was causing it. But it's a concussion, so it still has a chance to play. Back to Justina's point, though, I think the biggest thing with Drake May, there's so much good on the film with him. There's so much good. A lot of really great high-level throws. I think he sees space in the defense and reads zone coverage extremely well. Just kind of knows where the voids are going to be and where the pockets are going to be. And he has great ball placement against man coverage for the most part, which is how you beat man, right? You got to put the ball in a place away from the defender for the receiver to make the catch. I thought the early third down to Hunter Henry was a perfect example of that. That's pretty good coverage. That is a muddied pocket. There's pressure on him in that pocket. He stands in that pocket and he puts the ball on Henry and makes the play, and they move the chains and they stay on the field. So there's a lot of great things. I think, what we're all looking for, one, this fan base, and understandably so, has some Mac Jones rookie season PTSD, right? That just exists within this fan base. We saw a young quarterback not too long ago, play some really good football as a rookie, and then it completely fell off after that. So there are certain people that are just setting themselves up for failure, right? That are trying to protect their own feelings from that again. The second thing is that it's fair to say they're still not winning these games that Drake May is playing in.
Yeah.
He has won, from wire to wire, he's won one game against the Bears since he took over as the starter. So just where can he improve? It's not, everyone sees it. I think everyone, you can't deny that everyone sees the talent. That is undeniable, that this guy is a franchise quarterback talent. But now it's on the Patriots and on this organization as a whole to develop that talent. It's to get him developed. It's to get the situation around him to develop. It's to get him with the right coaches, the right receivers, get him an offensive line. There's a lot that goes into that, and that's where we're at. We've checked the box of, is Drake May a starting quarterback in the NFL? I think the physical talent checks that box for you. Now the question is can he be better?
Yeah.
Right? Can he be even better than this?
I want to touch on one other thing she said.
Yeah.
The Patriots ended Josh Allen's MVP chance or impacted his MVP chances. Who's your MVP, Evan?
He was damn good yesterday. Lamar, this is truly like deciding. I bet you this is how parents feel about deciding between children, because I love both guys.
Who's the MVP, Evan? Oh, come on.
I probably give it to Josh Allen still.
Really?
Yeah.
First off, what he did against this Patriots defense. Second of all,
okay, that's such. Don't be me. Don't be recency bias.
Okay, fine.
Don't
look
at
what he did against the Texans, and look at what Lamar did against Texans. Do you remember the reaction after that Texans game?
This is also another version of like, oh, when did they play Tennessee? October. Like, okay, so he played the Texans 4 months ago, and then this Texans team played Lamar yesterday. Like, those are not. It's not the same thing.
Lamar has been better, and if
Lamar's been awesome.
Lamar's been better.
I have no doubt about that. I do wonder. Look, what it comes down to when I'm evaluating MVP, and maybe this is an argument for Lamar that I'm making without knowing, it's basically if you took the player off the team, how much worse would they get, right? Like that's what we're talking about here. My thing with Lamar, and this is one of your guys, like Derrick Henry is there now. And he's had a great season. Now, Lamar is letting him do a lot of it, right? Yeah. Like that, it's a lot of it is because of Lamar that Derrick Henry's been so great.
Derrick Henry's there. Lamar still has like 40 total touchdowns.
Yeah, he's like 44-4 in terms of touchdowns to interceptions right now.
Really, Burrow should be in the conversation too, but the Bengals just suck.
Yeah.
But because if you talk about take him off the team, whose team gets worse, it's Joe Burrow. The Bengals team's nothing without him.
Watching the Bills up close, and it was I put him on the downs list. It was a bad Josh Allen game. There's no doubt about that. But watching the Bills up close, Josh Allen does not have a great supporting cast. He has a good supporting cast, but those receivers are nothing special. Like, it's washed Amari Cooper. It's Khalil Shakir, who's a really good slot receiver, but that's what he is, right? And it's Keon Coleman, who, you know how I feel about Keon Coleman, and I said it at the time when they drafted Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid was a bad draft pick in my mind. His career so far has been exactly like a lot of tight ends, like early in the draft are. Like, not all of them are going to be Brock Bowers, right? Like, he's not Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
And Dalton Kincaid has I think 450, 500 yards this year in year 2. Had about the same last year. Like, that's not a ton. That's not a ton.
How about the strength of schedule? Josh Allen's playing the AFC East. He's playing.
Look, I'm not gonna. If they give it to Lamar Jackson, I'm not gonna argue. Like, Lamar Jackson's awesome.
Fair enough.
Right? If they give it to Lamar Jackson, I'm not gonna argue. It's probably a little bit of voter fatigue, and we could look back on this, and it's like, Joel Embiid's MVP instead of Nikola Jokic. Like, Jokic was probably the MVP of the league.
Well, it's that thing where, like, we dealt with this for Brady for years. You win a couple MVPs, and now it's not just you have to be the best player in the league. You have to be better than your average year. That being said, Josh Allen winning it, to your point about Jokic, like, I've compared the Bills to the Sixers for a long time. Yeah. This would be the fraudulent Joel Embiid MVP.
It would be very Sixers-esque. His numbers, Lamar's numbers this year are better than they were last year. Last year, though, probably was like a watered-down year for MVP. Yeah. It was really, unless you wanted to give it to, like, Christian McCaffrey, like, there wasn't a whole lot of options outside of Lamar Jackson last year.
I know how you feel, but should Saquon be in the conversation?
He's in the top 5. Like, he deserves votes. Yeah. But he's not going to win it. He shouldn't win it.
Whose team is, forget take him off the team, which team becomes worse. Which team is a better team? Which team would you less want to play, the Ravens or the Bills?
I don't know. It's such recency bias because we just watch the Bills kind of be in a game with the Patriots, and then we just watch the Ravens wax the Texans.
I know the Bills have a better record. That Ravens team, I think they're like the danger team. That's a team you do not want to see going into the playoffs.
I really hope Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl. I would love to see Lamar Jackson win a Super Bowl. So I would not like to see the Bills win a Super Bowl.
That is one of the few on your shirt. Yeah, you do.
No,
yeah, because you want Josh to win one, so I'll shut up.
No,
yeah, you do.
No.
Yeah,
I would be perfectly content with Josh Allen being a more enjoyable Joel Embiid. Like, same resume, but just not a.
I thought you were going to go Phillip Rivers.
Not an a-hole.
You know what I want? You know what I want for Josh Allen, and this is going to surprise some people. But again, it's nobody understands what my real take is on Josh Allen.
Oh my God, that's because you're real. Like, when you say nobody understands your real take, it means you're doing a bad job.
No,
of
I'm not.
explaining the
All
take.
right, I've tried to explain it a number of times. I want Josh Allen to be Matthew Stafford. I want him to go win somewhere else. I would love to see Josh Allen win a Super Bowl and not Buffalo.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fine. I'm good with that. The Bills can't win a Super Bowl.
We're never going to be on the same page about Kyle Shanahan. But he's not going to win it this year, so you don't have to deal with him blowing a Super Bowl late again. Congratulations.
All right. Kendall is in North Carolina. What's up? We're big in North Carolina today. What's up, Kendall?
Campbell's not going to win. Yeah, it's the Bill Belichick effect. It's the Drake May Bill Belichick effect.
Good.
My question is for Evan and Alex. If we do win another game and whatnot, where would y'all draft Luther Burden at? Would you draft him in the top 10 or maybe outside the top 10? And I'll take it out.
Oh, that's a good question.
Thanks, Kendall. Yeah.
Because
good
when we did this the other week, you raved about Luther Burden. You were drooling about Luther Burden.
Yeah.
And then you basically ended the segment saying, and he's the third best receiver in the draft.
I didn't say he's third. It's second.
Where'd you have Hunter?
Oh, yeah, I guess. But I'm sort of coming around just to listening to some of the reporting out there by the insiders. It definitely does seem like GMs around the league think Travis Hunter is a corner.
I was going to say, what'd you make of that Jay Glazer report?
Probably pretty accurate.
So, all right. So you drooled over Luther Burden.
I love Luther Burden.
You talked about how tentative you were on Tet McMillan, but then he said, but Tet McMillan is my wide receiver one.
I tried not to let my stylistic biases creep into my rankings too much because I always have this sort of back and forth internally with myself about how to treat the draft in terms of rankings. Like, am I ranking as if I was Elliott Wolf, or am I just ranking to be right about the players? You know what I mean? Like, am I ranking it as if I am just a generic NFL football team and just who's the best football player? Like, if I'm ranking it with just who's the best football players, like, I try to take my biases of this guy's just not really my cup of tea out of it, unless I'm really convicted that, like, Quentin Johnston. Like, I just did not see it with Quentin Johnston, and so I wasn't going to allow myself to rank him, highly because of that. But with Tet McMillan, I see what everybody else sees. It's just I wouldn't build my offense around a player like that.
Okay.
I would build my offense around a Luther Burden.
So how high are you taking Luther Burden?
I think he's a top 20 pick in this draft.
Top 20. Okay. So even if the Patriots win, even say both games, it's still probably a trade down situation for you?
Yeah. And look, I would love if, because we had a caller, I think it was on PU. Like, I would love if they could be in a situation where they trade back up from the top of the second round to grab a guy like Luther Burden. I just don't think he's going to fall that far.
So, all right, let me ask you this. You say he's top 20 pick.
Yeah.
Let's say
in this draft.
Like in this draft.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm looking at the teams here. Here's a good one. Okay. The Bengals at 14. They lose T. Higgins. They need to add juice for Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
You get intel. The Bengals are taking Luther Burden at 14. Would you take him somewhere 10 through 13?
I think about that, yeah.
I would. You know that, like, all right, we're not going to get him if we wait till 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, I would. I in this draft in particular, now.
And that might be trade down, trade up.
Does the board adjust for the fact that it's not a great receiver class? And
well, that's what I'm saying.
So, like a couple years ago, right, when Zay Flowers and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jordan Addison came out, the league adjusted for the fact that it wasn't Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Rome Odunze, right? Like, they got drafted in the 20s.
Yeah.
I think they all went with 4 straight picks, if I'm not mistaken.
They did, yeah.
In 2022 or 23, which draft was that?
22, that was Christian Gonzalez.
23.
23, yep. Yeah. Sorry, 23.
So Zay Flowers, it was JSN, Zay Flowers, Addison, Quentin Johnston, I think in that order. And they went with 4 picks in a row, or like 4 or 5 picks or something like that.
It was 4 picks in a row, JSN, Johnston, Flowers, Addison.
Oh, okay. I thought Flowers went ahead of Johnston for some reason.
Nope.
Idiots. Anyways.
Man, him on this Chargers team?
Yeah. Whew. I mean, just whatever.
Yeah.
Just draft stiff receivers. It's fine. So you look at this draft, could I see that happening with Luther Burden, the kid from Ohio State, Ibuka, right? Like those types of players, some of the guys, Torrey Horton or the kid from Texas, like those guys, I could see that happening. That the league is like, In other years, this guy, we have to take the guy where he's worth on the board. Now, in this draft, I think Luther Burden could be in the top 15 because he's the second best receiver in the draft.
And the other thing is, so in that draft, the consensus was none of those guys were top picks.
Yeah.
So they fell. This one's a little different because, bias aside, is Tet McMillan going to go in the top 6 picks?
I think he's top 10 at least.
All right.
Yeah.
He's going to go.
10 is his floor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He's going to go, and now it's, well, we got to get the next receiver.
Right.
We need a receiver. So maybe Burden is a 20 to 25 pick, but are we really going to see in the first round of the draft where wide receivers go so often, are 15 picks going to go without a wide receiver going? When's the last time, honestly, well, I guess that year that got to the 20s, but after the first receiver, when's the last time we went 15 picks in the first round without another wide receiver taken? They always go in bunches.
Yeah, they do
like,
go
all right,
in bunches.
2022 is another example. You had five wide receivers go in the first round, right? 6 wide receivers go in the first round. They went in the span of 10 picks. Drake London went 8th. Treylon Burks went 18th.
Yeah.
So you had same thing in 2021. A bunch of wide receivers went 5, 6, 10, and then you jumped to 20 and 27. So there was a little bit of a jump there. But it's like McMillan's going to go on teams, unless there's a team that views Hunter as a wide receiver, and maybe that skews it. But this is going to be so hard to read the board this year with Travis Hunter. It's going to make it. I'm realizing, like, in real time how tough he makes the draft.
No, I mean, he's going to be a top 5 pick. So
but the trickle down, right?
Yeah, but I still feel like Tet McMillan is still a top 10 pick, even if the team treats Travis Hunter as
sure.
first.
But I mean, it's like, if Travis Hunter goes, are more teams panicking about the corners going early, or are more teams panicking about the receivers going early, right?
Corners. I think because it's really just him and Will Johnson.
Okay. So, but the point being, like, I don't think teams are going to wait around that long to take the second receiver.
Yeah, and receivers like Luther Burden that have that kind of explosiveness and that kind of big playability, really at all 3 levels where you can, like, scheme touch him or you can throw the ball on a vertical down the field. Like, those types of guys don't last long in the NFL draft.
I still think the Chiefs are going to give up a ton to move up and get him.
That'd be a good pick. All right, Eldred is in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred? There it is.
There it is.
Hey, fellas, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
New Year's.
Thank you.
Yeah. Evan.
Yes, sir.
I'm kind of stunned a little bit with T-Mac, because I like his size. Like I said, he's not, he ain't got that burner speed. But Travis Hunter, y'all wouldn't try to make him a wide receiver instead of a corner first, if you had a chance to draft him?
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past, Eldred, and I definitely would think about it. You know, if that's the side of the ball that he wants to play, and he's more committed to being a receiver, I'm not going to tell him that he can't be, right? Like, it's that sort of thing to me.
I wouldn't play him both ways.
Yeah.
I think if you're the Patriots, it makes much more sense if you're going to draft him as a receiver. And we kind of talked about him being like a third down corner.
Yeah.
Maybe, or a spot corner. But based on all the reporting right now, it sounds like the majority of the teams see him as a cornerback. I understand why. I think his ceiling is higher. I think his football ceiling, I think his caliber of a player is higher as a corner. And honestly, if I'm advising him, I think he makes more money as a corner in the NFL too.
That's the biggest thing to me.
So the wide receiver contract, the big wide receiver contract is worth more than the biggest corner contract. But you look at the way he's built, he's going to get 1, maybe 2 big contracts as a receiver. He might get 3 as a corner. Like, he'll last a lot longer as a corner. I think he makes more money, honestly, if he plays corner than receiver.
Okay. One more question. I'll let y'all go.
Yep.
And I take it off the air. Do you trust Wolf to make the right moves? I didn't trust him last year. I don't think I trust him this year. So what do y'all think? Y'all have a good one, fellas.
Thanks, Eldred. Yeah, thank you. Love the horn. I think we're getting into the territory now where we've talked a lot about the coaching.
Right. It's time to start talking about the front office.
And
again.
a lot about Gerard Mayo. And just my 2 cents, this is just my opinion, we're probably in the territory now with Gerard Mayo where he's going to get a second year.
It seems to be that way.
Yeah, I would be pretty shocked. They would have to lose 45-0 to the Chargers.
I think it's more than that.
I
think you would have to see, like, fights on the sideline.
Yeah, it would have to have a complete implosion at this point for Gerard Mayo to not be back for a second season. Is that the best thing? We could debate that. You know, like, I understand that there's multiple sides to this. I really also then feel, and I feel pretty strongly about this, scapegoating Alex Van Pelt for what's gone on here, I think would be a mistake.
I could not agree with you more.
I actually think that the person that's done the best job at his job on the coaching staff is probably Van Pelt.
Doesn't mean he can't make changes below him either.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean he's been perfect.
Yeah.
Certainly hasn't. Like, I've had a lot of criticism of his play calling, mostly the play design and the creativity of the offense. And then the red zone stuff we talked about earlier. I put that as much on Van Pelt as anybody. But at the same time, he's done a nice job with Drake May. They seem to have a good relationship working together. There's enough there from a base offense that I see that if they had better personnel, what they are trying to execute and how they would be able to do it. And at the end of the day, like, what message does that kind of send to the organization that the guy that actually did the best job,
right?
Because some head has to roll for 3-12 or 3-13 or whatever the frick the math is now, 3-14. Because some head has to roll for that, we're gonna can the guy that's done the best job.
What message does it send to potential candidates? If you're looking for somebody to upgrade, like they know they're not coming in with a ton of job security. No, I completely agree with you. And that's not to say Alex Van Pelt should be offense coordinator for life.
Yeah.
He's just earned a second year. I'll say this on the Elliott Wolf thing, and I know that people might laugh at me saying this when it comes to the Patriots and their draft history. I think there are certainly some... So I assume he's asked about the draft getting it right. Bigger picture free agency is another story. But when we're talking about that top draft pick, how many wrong picks really are there? There's definitely some picks that are better than others. But you look at the majority of the board, Travis Hunter would be a good pick. We're not going to complain if they draft Travis Hunter. Abdul Carter would be a good pick. We're not going to complain if they draft Abdul Carter. I will say Ted McMillan would be a good pick. We'll see, like, pending free agency and all that.
I'd be nervous as hell, but I would be.
It's a good. So I left room. There's some picks that are better than others.
Yeah.
How many Will Campbell would be a good pick?
Yeah.
How many bad picks really are there? Because they have so many needs.
Right. There's not a lot of bad picks at the top of the first. I agree with you, and it's pretty hard to miss on a pick that high.
The only guy I look at that I'm like, I really hope they don't draft him at the top. And it's not even that he's a bad player. I just don't think there's a spot for him.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, I think it was last week, is Mason Graham.
Yeah.
He's too redundant with Christian Barmore. It's one of the few spots you have a good player. You really can't. It's not like, even if they took Will Johnson, like, you can play him and Gonzalez at the same time. It's going to be very hard to play Mason Graham and Christian Barmore at the same time. That's really the only guy I look at when I look at the top of this list, and obviously the quarterbacks, but they're not going to do that. Mason Graham's the only guy I look at the top of this list and say, like, yeah, I'd be unhappy if they draft him. I'd be happier with some than others, but there aren't a lot of bad picks on the board.
Yeah, so really quickly on Wolf.
What's that on your sleeve, by the way?
Don't even get me started. Got paint on my... All right, anyways. Really quickly on Wolf, and then we got to get out of here, so I just want to do 2 seconds on the Chargers. The biggest thing to me with Wolf moving forward is really, one, closing in free agency. I think that's going to be harder than just in terms of evaluating who they should go after. I believe that part's kind of easy, to be honest with you. Like, who are the players you want is not the hard part. The hard part is getting the contract signed and across the finish line and getting that player in your building. Well, it's closing.
I know we got to wrap, but, like, I think it's not just for, honestly, they need to make trades. They're not going to get everything they want in free agency. I've said this. I think T. Higgins is going back to Cincinnati. It's DK Metcalf. And I don't know if you saw the Athletic football podcast this week. It was Robert Mays.
Now these people are giving you credence to your
Robert Mays and Derek Klassen were both talking about, the Seahawks should move Metcalf. I still think he's going to be the best guy available at that position.
So I'm not as concerned about them being able to identify the players that they want in free agency. I'm more concerned about them getting the players that they want in free agency.
Ooh, little breaking news. Deshaun Jackson named the head coach at...
This is what you interrupt me for?
Delaware State. Deshaun, that's cool. Mike Vick, Deshaun Jackson, that's kind of cool.
So that's the biggest thing to me because they are still not like a great destination. Yeah. They're more attractive than they were a year ago because of Drake May for an offensive player, T. Higgins or DK Metcalf or whatever. But those guys are going to have tons of options. They're going to have tons of options that are going to pay them tons of money. So it's not, your money is not going to just be the only reason why you get the player or don't get the player.
Right.
So they're going to have to sell that player on something, and that's on Elliott Wolf. Like, that's on that staff and Gerard Mayo a little bit too, to persuade Elliott Wolf or to persuade T. Higgins or whoever it is to sign with the Patriots. Just a quick story aside, in Tennessee, big thing that I had heard from a lot of their beat writers and stuff like that about the Calvin Ridley sweepstakes. Rand Carthen, their GM, is this sort of closer. Like he's like, do you ever watch Suits?
No, but I understand the reference.
He's Harvey Specter, right? Like he comes in and he gets the deal done, and that might have been the difference. Now there was other things like the whole location and money and all that, I'm sure, but Rand Carthen apparently is this guy that just comes in and closes deals.
Something that makes those things like a factor is how it's pitched.
Right. So that's the big thing to me. And then in the draft, it's all about what you do in rounds 2 through 7. I'm not trying to totally take credit away from them for taking a guy like Drake May.
We took too many calls on Marvin Harrison to say Drake May was a slam dunk pick.
Right, but it's sort of similar now where you're gonna pick 2 overall. You're gonna have a board of 4 or 5 guys, and all 4 or 5 you have a really strong case to make the pick.
Yep.
So it's not going to be the hardest pick in the world in the first round. Jalen Polk, Caden Wallace, Javon Baker, like those are the guys that make GMs great. Like that's how Howie Roseman is one of the best GMs in football. That's how Brett Veach is one of the best GMs in football. Those guys make their money on days 2 and 3 in the draft.
Yep.
And so that's going to be big for Wolf. He's going to get it. Like just like Gerard's going to get the second year as the head coach, Elliott Wolf is going to be the one picking the groceries in the offseason for the Patriots. His future with this team will be decided by this offseason. If he strikes out this offseason, he's probably going to be out.
They both probably will be.
Yeah. So really quickly on the Chargers, my big thing I'm be looking for in this game, really, really good defensive mind coming here with the Chargers. Jesse Minter. Probably going to be a head coach in the league, not before long. Really one of those, he's a tight pants guy on the defensive side of the ball, right? Like he's Mike McDonald, he's D'Amico Ryans, like he's one of those types of guys.
Staley.
Maybe no.
Brandon Staley wore khakis.
He's better than Staley.
Brandon Staley wore khakis.
But he's one of those guys that's a schemer. Like he's a mastermind, right? He's going to come in. He's going to be really good on the X's and O's. He's going to be really good at knowing your tendencies and situational tendencies in particular. So that is a really tough matchup for Alex Van Pelt. We talk about him getting his second year here and all that kind of stuff. This is one of those games. I thought the Bills are kind of a do-what-you-do type of defense. You sort of know you're going to get 4-3 over. You're going to get cover 2. You're going to get man-to-man. You kind of know what the Bills are going to do. This Chargers team is going to spin the dial a lot more on Drake May. So big game for Alex Van Pelt. Big game for Drake May going up against a pretty good Chargers defense to show some chops there. But defensively for the Patriots, I still feel like this is a game that they can compete in like they did against Buffalo. I look at this Chargers offense. It's Ladd McConkey. Like, it's Ladd McConkey and
Will Disley's their second leading receiver, and he's hurt.
It's really not a passing offense. Great quarterback, one really good receiver. They just played a great quarterback and one really good receiver in Josh Allen and Khalil Shakir and did a really good job. This game, to me, defensively has a ton of carryover. The one caveat is that the Chargers will run the ball. They will not.
Right.
They won't pull a Joe Brady, Josh Allen, and get baited into throwing the ball 40 times in a game they don't need to be throwing the ball 40 times. They're going to be 2 back. They're going to put a fullback in the backfield. They're going to put Justin Herbert under center or in the pistol, and they're going to run the ball. And if the Patriots can't stop it and get them into third down situations, then it will be a Charger game. Like, the Chargers will control the game.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I know we got to get out of here. I think it's a tougher team than the Bills, and they're going to have to win it. If they can win at the line of scrimmage, which is an if with this team, if they can win at the line of scrimmage, I don't know if they win, but they keep it close. I know some people look at, what is it, 4.5 is the number, as being, surprised it's that low. You also have the whole thing about West Coast Dome team coming to the Northeast. Herbert has not been good here in Gillette Stadium, especially late in the year. I think the Chargers are probably trying to win this game like 13-10.
Yeah, I would also say the Chargers don't run away from you in the scoreboard necessarily like the Bills can. The Bills can be a wagon and they can hang 45 on you and just run away from you. This Chargers team is 19th in points per game. They're 15th in DVOA on offense. They have a really good quarterback, but they're not a great offense yet. They still have holes. Like, their receiving core is still not scaring a lot of people. So this Charger game could be a Patriot-style game where it's 20-17, right? 17-14, 20-17. I think I picked 20-14 on PU. Like, that's a score that the Patriots could win a game with.
Yep.
The Bills are a little bit different. The Bills, you had to score, and you knew it. So that's the Chargers on Sunday. Or Saturday, excuse me. I hope in the future we do shows again where we have like a long game preview segment. It feels like we haven't really cared about the games in a while, and I hope that changes here soon. But we'll be back next week. One more regular season game to go against the Bills here at Gillette Stadium. We'll obviously talk plenty of draft in the offseason as well at that point. But until then, Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. The official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots, had to get that in there. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.